Hello, everyone, and welcome to Weekly Manga Recap. It's the 24th of June, 2026. And wouldn't you know, it snuck up on us. It's the last recording for the month of June, just because of how weeks work and how months work.
Yeah, I guess statistically, that's how it all boils out, Nick.
Yeah.
All right. Do we have any other cool, fun facts we can give for the audience?
I mean, we could go over like numbers and stuff. I had to explain at work to somebody the way that like why leap years are scheduled the way that they are. Because so a leap year happens every 4 years, right?
Yes, like the Olympics and a presidential election.
Exactly like those, yes. Except that leap years are skipped every 100 years.
Okay.
But those skipped 100-year leap years are back on every 400 years. So that's why the year 2000 was a leap year. So it has to do with, like the exact, revolution of the Earth around the sun being, 365 and a little more days. And having a leap year gets us a little closer to that. But then it's not quite there, and so if we didn't have the skipped leap years, then we would overshoot it. So we have to take some of those away. But then every 400 years we would be off by a little bit, so we have to put it back in, and it's just a ridiculous thing. And I think that there is like another rule even beyond that. If if human society survives long enough to continue to observe the practice at all.
Yeah, this wasn't a fun fact as much. I was very interested at the start, and then it made me existentially sad.
Right. So we're all going to become dust, but
no,
the manga will still be there. So
I don't want to be dust unless I could be some kind of dust-like Pokemon, perhaps.
Like a dust. What is it? Is there a Dustox? No, that's a moth.
That's
right?
a moth.
That's
yeah,
moth, right?
It's a moth, unfortunately, and not a particularly good one. I'm in the an enviable situation, Nick, where I'm simply just playing too much Pokemon. I finally got a chance to start playing Pokopia, and a little known fact about myself: I'm not allowed to play Minecraft. It's like something I have strictly I keep myself from now because
it's too addictive.
It's too addictive, and more specifically is emblematic of a very depressed period of my life. So I tell people, I'm like, if you see me playing Minecraft, it is a cry. Like, you need to reach out, like that kind of thing. But I'm like, Pokemon's certainly fine, right? And I realize it may also just need to go in the same category.
In the pile.
Yeah, because I simply, I'll start up and I'll be like, I'm just going to do one little thing. And then I'm like, well, I should probably clear out my inventory. Well, I should probably clean up this little thing I've been meaning to do. Well, I should probably go feed these berries over there. I got to do my daily for the day. And then 7 hours later, and I'm like, I didn't do anything I was expecting to. It's a real challenge, real issue.
Yeah. It's odd because, sometimes that kind of thing is kind of like hard to diagnose, just because, for some people that thing is like a sign of like, oh, you're depressed and stuff. But in other people, it's like, oh no, they're just like feeling themselves. Like, this is what they do.
There's some people, this is the healthy way they go about their day. But unfortunately, I truly have not found a way to conquer it. And I like many things in life, I realize if I can't overpower it, I simply need to avoid coming in contact with it forever.
Right. Absolutely. I remember before I got a job, my friend Jeff got me into playing Destiny 2 with him. And I couldn't play it anymore when I got a job because I was like, I can't play this casually, basically. Like I would have to play, I would want to dedicate like at least an hour to like each day to play this. And so I can't do that. So I'm just going to stop playing it. And weirdly enough, the part of it that I miss the most is the inventory management aspect of it, where it's like, okay, I got a bunch of new guns and I've got to decide which ones to keep and like just doing a bunch of that. And it's like, for a lot of people, that's like, this would be, tedious and stupid.
Yeah.
And for me, it's like, Yeah, but I like it. Like, I like doing it, and I like comparing all the numbers and stuff like that. Oh, just doing missions, going and shooting stuff. Who cares about
Who
all
has
that? That's
time
so
for
you
that?
can get the things, so that you have the new pile of numbers to sort through. Come
Uh-huh.
on.
Can I tell an embarrassing story about myself?
Always.
Okay. So back in the day when MMOs were just first starting out, I want to say, I'm going to charitably say 12, but I would not be surprised if I maybe was even older than this. I'm not 100% certain. I'd have to do math. But there was a mobile or a MMO I was starting to play called Asheron's Call, which most people I don't think have even heard of. It wasn't a particularly popular one, but I just got really into it. And I remember at one point my mom being like, "You're playing that game too much. Why don't you have one of your friends come over?" And she invited my friend Frank to come over, who I've talked about on this podcast before, and I think still listens to the show. So just know that there's a happy ending to the story. And we had Frank over, but I was still just really addicted to Asheron's Call. So I was like, all right, well, you know, like the TV's downstairs if you want to go check that out. And then I just went and played Asheron's Call for like 4 hours until his dad picked him up. And like every time I like sit back and I think, I'm like, you know, this really should have been your awakening to a lot of problems about yourself.
Oh, man. Oh, boy. Oh, yeah. All right. And on that note,
let's talk about manga.
Oh, yeah. We got a lot of manga to talk about today. I think it's like 14 different series we got to go over.
It feels like so many.
We've got a new debut. We've got Boruto to talk about. So let's jump into it.
Let's get in.
We got Ichi the Witch, 87th Hunt, Exchange of Blows. Yeah, the last chapter ended with Ichi stabbing Fujimine in the neck because he sensed bloodlust from her, despite the fact that she has basically forcefully imprinted on him and makes him recognize her as a trusted friend. He just says to her, while she's got blood gushing out of that chorionic artery, even as close as we are, if you trigger death for death, you're prey. So... yeah, couldn't overcome his instinct, his killing instinct. I have to say as well, looking at this opening panel, I did not realize the first time reading it through, but the Toxoterra magic, its tentacles and Fujimine's hair kind of like blend into each other. They're both kind of like spiraling around each other and stuff. But Fujimine does that, and then she just headbutts Ichi and starts to laugh, and she realizes like, well, I guess I can't control your instincts. But do you realize what you've done? You just stabbed a human, not a magic, not a wild animal or a livestock, another being like you. And she is like, you know, can you really do this? You know, like, obviously, like, I directed my bloodlust at you, but if that's all it takes for you to strike down a human like any other animal, something is very, very wrong with you. You, Ichi, aren't cut out to be a human. If you ever get bored of playing at being one, we'd be happy to have you. In fact, I bet Haiti would like it better that way. And Ichi is clearly a bit confused by this whole thing, but he doesn't know that she has a nickname for the World Hater Magic, so he's just like, what do you mean Haiti?
He's like, huh? Wait, did they come out with the new Hades? I need to get in on that.
It took them like several years to make the second one, and it's only been a few months since it's been out.
Oh, did they finally get to the Minotaur in this one? They're like, the Minotaur's in the first one, you poser. Shut up.
Oh yeah, it was in the twofer battle, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Great game.
It really was. Really was.
Very gay too. Fantastic. Descarus intervenes, snatches Ichi away from Fujimine, and then unleashes a spell, Alexandra. And Ichi is briefly like, kind of stunned. And then Descarus just kind of like grabs him, and she uses a new spell, Close Thine Eyes, Taff Taff. But we don't really see much happen with that. I think that she kind of just like
is it a spell, or is she just being British for a moment?
She does bonk him on the head when she does it.
Does she?
So
okay. Yeah.
Maybe she's just kind of, being like, this is my spell. Bonk.
Yeah. She's like, time for a new magic spell. Sleepness. Bam. And then just blackjacks him in the back of the head.
Following the big blast that Descaris made, she sees that Fujimine is recovering. She is, kind of being taken up by the Toxiterra magic, which is making a slurch sound. And she looks very, demented while this is happening, kind of doll-like.
I was going to say, she almost looks like a ballerina a little bit, like a dancer.
Her wounds bind, but there is, like, stuff, like, clearly being injected into her. And then that heals over. And of course, Descaris says, like, can you really call yourself human? So there's something going on with her, like, physically, it would seem. A portal opens, big ol' hand appears behind Fujimine and the Toxiterra magic and goes to grab her. And Descaris recognizes that it's the World Haters portal because she's seen it, take place before. Fujimine is surprised as she gets grabbed. And she says, "Oh, sorry, everyone. I wish we could play more, but I guess some other time." And Shun, he decides to go, "This is my heroic angst storyline, so I have to yell, Fujimine!"
There was a small part of me that was sad in this moment because it's like, oh, I guess the Magic Keepers aren't going to be all done here. This storyline's going to continue. Oh.
Fujimine says, like, hey, don't forget about me, love you, bye. And then she disappears, gets deposited in front of the World Hater Magic, who does not look very happy with her. And Fujimine goes, I'm home. And the World Hater Magic gets the hand that has snagged her to just crush her in punishment for a bit. And she's like, I'm sorry, I won't do it again, I'm sorry. And then gets deposited. The only thing that the World Hater Magic says in this entire ass scene is to just call her fool. That is it. No other comments at all about the entire situation. But Fujimine says, I think I'm starting to get it now, though. Why you like Ichi so much? And she says, I want to go and play with him right now, but I'm really tired, so I guess I'll let someone else take a turn. Who's next? We pull back to see various other magics gathered in the realm of the World Hater Magic. And Fujimine excitedly says, I can't wait to find out who's going to survive and who's going to die. But that's not the end of the chapter. We get a recap of everything, which includes Amadora, Ribbon Candy, and those who were trying to help her being apprehended, the headquarters being fixed up, and then, lastly, the Magic Keepers and Team Descaris are currently involved in a high-stakes battle. Descaris and Minakata are playing table tennis, and this is about as intense as the table tennis manga that we read.
Yeah, this feels a little bit like Ping Pong Peril, to the point where there are craters in the mat from when they keep hitting the table. There's small crater indents. And
Ichi is apparently judging and keeping score. So good for him.
Yeah. So Nick, how did you feel about this chapter?
I've got some questions, I guess, after seeing it. Obviously, we're supposed to be, kind of freaked out a bit by Fujimine in terms of her monstrous nature slowly being revealed. I continue to look at stuff with her in the Toxiterra and think, are you fully actually the master of this thing? In terms of how, if she's supposed to be as old as she is, and if she's been healed and her body has kind of been replaced by this, it's, I don't know, it kind of makes me ask questions about that. I think that, however, it's a good decision to have some sort of interruption to this battle between Fujimine and the others, because otherwise it's you've got this villain who, clearly has got a very compelling design as an attachment and a backstory to a few people. You developed relationships between her and Ichi and stuff. So if you just kill her off in the first battle, that's definitely a waste. So yes, it's, quite a bit of a Deus Ex Machina moment, and she gets, yanked out of there and gets to fight again another day. But it's better than the alternative.
Sure. I was surprised to see this arc end now. I kind of thought we were like building up to something like, oh, we got the magic keepers here. We have two of the other big witches here, along with like Moneygold is also here. And we can kind of tell that some of the other witches are like in the area. So like it felt like there was going to be something more prolonged or protracted occurring. So I was really surprised when World Hater Magic just like kind of yoinks her out of there. Now it does make sense, and we get a little bit of a tease. You can't really make out much of the magics that we see in there, but it's like at least a tease. It's like, hey, at least there's 3 more people. I don't know. I guess the the World Hater Stars or whatever they were called are dwindling in number.
7, I think.
Yeah. Well, not everybody showed up today. You know, they're a little sleepy. But I did think that was interesting. But there was a legit moment where I was like, does this mean Shun's gonna have to show back up again at some point so he can get his revenge on Fujimine? Like, dang it.
Yes, Quinn, that's why I've been getting my hate in on him early. Like, we're gonna have to get used to him.
That is true. We'll see next time. Maybe he'll have a better looking hat than this one.
Well, we can hope.
Yeah.
We can pray.
Yeah. All right. Blue Box.
Blue Box, chapter 247, Let's Eat Together. Chinatsu and Taiki have gone to the beach to celebrate Chinatsu's birthday, and so they go out onto the beach. Taiki observes that Chinatsu's hair is shorter again, and she says, like, oh yeah, ever since you won the prefectural qualifiers, which feels like it was weeks ago, so I don't know why you didn't notice before then.
Yeah, I was like, also he has a very unique way of commenting on the fact that his girlfriend has gotten like a change to her haircut, and it's how he's like, your hair's shorter. Like it's always like a riddle he's just found the answer to or something like that. Be like, you could just say like, oh, nice haircut, or like, oh, I like your hair like that, or something.
He notes, I lost the real battle at Nationals. So, didn't win Nationals, but Chinatsu's like, you made top 4.
Did better than I expected.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Like, top 4 among all high schoolers in Japan. That's quite a feat. Like, he's going to probably have no trouble getting, like, scholarships and stuff since he wants to do, badminton in university. So, it's great for him. But Chinatsu understands, like, I know, like, you're not satisfied with that, and Taiki's like, I have issues with my own performance, but also Yusa won. So Yusa got his revenge shortly afterward. Now Taiki's back to, I've got to surpass him. So resetting that, but hey, he did get his moment of victory, and so that's nice. And Chinatsu says, like, I feel like you guys are going to like be doing that to each other like constantly. Like you guys are always going to be trying to surpass each other. And Taiki's like, well, he's a good rival. But Chinatsu says, I'm jealous because, and I like that I was thinking the exact same thing because we have that, matter of like, oh, when shonen people are rivals, we get all the poetic, like, oh, they're like yin and yang and they constantly inspire each other to do better. And then, the love interest, she's a girl. So it's nice to have someone comment on that in the moment of like, you guys are like constantly tied to each other. I'm jealous of that, whatever. But it's also done in a goofy Chinatsu way, which is nice.
Yes.
She makes the observation, I'm the only one who gets to hold your hand like this.
Not in my Taiki Yusa fanfics, though.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, they get pretty ribald. Sometimes they even interlock pinkies.
Oh, dear.
Yeah.
Chinatsu and Taiki go playing on the beach. A couple of older people see them playing and are like, oh, kids today. The dazzling youth. Yep. Chinatsu goes to like the Beach Hut toy store, gets big badminton so that they can play badminton on the beach. And so Taiki's like, oh, okay, all right. And he's just kind of looking over the equipment because the shuttlecock is freaking massive. It's like the whole thing is like the size of a beach ball, basically. And Chinatsu says, hey, the loser's got to do anything that the winner says, all right? And Taiki says, are you sure about that? And Chinatsu's like, yep, let's do this. And she's drawn the court, and hers is like a quarter the size of Taiki's side of the court. It's so fucking funny.
Yeah.
So of course, Taiki's like, I can't hit this thing into a 3 foot by 3 foot square. This is ridiculous. You know that this is unfair. And so Chinatsu's like, oh, fine. And she redraws the court to be a little bit bigger and stuff. They play back and forth for a bit. Chinatsu is playing with the wind at her back, which makes it really hard for Taiki to hit back. Then the wind changes direction, and Chinatsu says, "Let's switch sides," which is really funny. But there's just a cute moment of the two of them playing together, and Taiki's like, "I wish that this could go on forever," basically. And we get a visual of a box surrounding them, so it's like, "Oh, it's their blue box! Hooray! It's cute." But he realizes it's impossible that this moment can go on forever. We've got to keep moving on past this. Chinatsu wins because, she had every handicap in the book working in her favor. And also, Chinatsu's like, "I'm pretty sure that he went easy on me." So Taiki says, "So I'll give you your prize." And he runs off, comes back. He's got a cake for her, sings happy birthday to her. It's her 19th birthday. Hooray. They have cake on the beach again. And Chinatsu says, "Oh, it's like becoming like a tradition for us to have my birthday at the beach." And it's like, yeah, it's cute.
I wonder if the song "Cake by the Ocean" is as big in Japan as it is here.
I don't know what that is, so it can't be that big, can it?
It's an innuendo for sex, I'll have you know.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
In case you ever hear it.
Okay. Who does it? I don't know.
One of the Jonas Brothers made a band very briefly for one album, and it's like the only song that I've heard from it.
Quinn, you have just revealed why I don't know what that song is, so thank you.
It was a big song when it came out, to be very clear.
One of the Jonas Brothers made another band. Oh, okay.
They're multiplying. They're taking over every level of entertainment. Well, I guess just music.
Music outside of the Disney Channel sphere. Yeah. Taiki notes that there's a 1-year difference between them again, but Chinatsu's like, I mean, not really. Like, when you're an adult, 1 year is nothing. So, yeah. But they have some cake with each other. They're being a very cute couple. They're, like, feeding each other with the one fork that they've got. And Taiki's like, we just made another memory together, basically, that we have to share this one fork while we're eating together and stuff. And then he thinks to himself, I feel a little lonely, but I'm going to embrace what's to come. So they're getting older. Chinatsu's going to, presumably not too long from now, go off to study in America, like she said. Taiki's going to have to start, going to university himself. They're moving on. They're getting older and stuff. And the nostalgia of high school is going to pass them by eventually.
Yeah. We are flying through, as we mentioned last week. Wouldn't be shocked if there was a little bit of a pretty big jump when we were hearing that it was Chinatsu's birthday. We see, we just jumped over nationals, not important. I think there's a real shot that the series is kind of just going to give us a couple more chapters to kind of tie up a couple things, and then we might head out. I feel like that was the big crescendo in that Yusa match. So what else to...
I don't know. You could be right, though.
We don't know. We are in this very interesting space right now in Shonen Jump where we have gotten 3 new series back. Hunter x Hunter's coming back, and Bleach supposedly.
And Bleach is apparently getting that Hellverse arc.
Yeah,
that was promised a few years ago,
and nothing's ended. So we're in this very weird spot where it's like things have to end. The magazine has too many things in it, but nothing's been announced as canceling or ending. So something's gonna happen soon. And I
believe
imagine
Sakamoto Days is supposed to end soon. I think that was
something like that.
a thing. Yeah, so there could be a lot of big announcements soon in that end. I mean, a month from now, we could be looking at a very different lineup in Jump that we cover on the recap. We'll see.
Yeah, we shall. But this is a good chapter of Blue Box. Really, really adorable.
All right.
Speaking of good chapters.
Comparatively speaking.
This one's comprehensible.
This one was a chapter, with things to talk about that are kind of interesting. I mean, there was a stupid way it concluded because it was Kawaki bullshit, but most of the people felt like people in it. Boruto 2 Blue Vortex, chapter 35. Cute. All right, so Hidari and Jura, I believe, are their names. The 2 tree people that are left, really, at this point. They're, just kind of sitting in their lair. And Jura's like, yeah, Momushi's died. And he noticed like he was driven by his desires, he gave in to them and ended up burning out. Warped as it was, this too seems to be a form of love. His philosophy on life was that the divine trees would thrive as a species, and while it incited excitement inside me, you could say it was no more than an animalistic, short-sighted, base mindset of an imperfect life form.
Maybe
What
it
a
was
stupid motherfucker he was.
Yeah, I was like, maybe it was also the fact that he could duplicate himself, but split his intelligence between the bodies each time. So after like 100 clones, he was dumb as shit.
Hidari doesn't say anything until prompted, and Hidari finally says, like, hey, his thorn bulb, I guess there wasn't really time for us to recover it, but that wasn't the case with Matsuri or Ryu. You could have collected their thorn bulbs like you did with mine to save me earlier. So why didn't you do that? Why did you bring me specifically back? And Jiro says, that's a good question. I've never actually really thought about it before, but just now, when I tried to imagine a world without you in it, I experienced feelings of sadness. And Hidari just kind of looks at him, and Jiro's like, oh, sorry, did I gross you out? And Hidari says, yeah, it gives me the ick. You're gross.
During Pride Month, you can't do this.
But Hidari says, yeah, it is kind of gross, but weirdly, I'm okay with it. And Jiro gives him a really weird grin. But
what is the implication you are meant to take from this other than, like, they might be gay for one another and not realize it?
And Ada, who now no longer has to worry about Matsuri, like, seeing her as she spies on them, is just spying on them at this point. And she's like, what the hell's going on with these two?
She's like, what are they doing?
What's going on?
During Pride Month?
Sarada has just been to get new glasses, but a kunai gets thrown into the ground in front of her, which is the only way for kunais to end up. Let's be real. But it's an Uzumaki binding, and Boruto, he's flying up in the air, and he goes, let's go over here. And so he flies off. Sarada goes to follow him, which we know because of the speed lines. Meanwhile, Inojin is talking with Kashin Koji through one of the communication frogs, and he's like, wait, what? At all times? And Kashin Koji tells him, yes, you need to be able to activate the mind transmission and mind transmission formation jutsu at a moment's notice when you're sleeping, when you're doing anything. The way Inojin puts it, even when I'm contemplating on the toilet, which he's walking through public talking to a frog that's hidden in his collar. So can you imagine anyone like hearing this 12-year-old's like, when I'm bathing, even when I'm taking a shit?
They're like, make sure one of the Censor ninjas follow him home so he knows what's like he's being taken care of and safe.
Censor ninjas, like, the spies, and also Censor ninjas with a C, because that guy's talking about some really messed up shit right now.
We can't. If the panel follows him into the bathroom, we can't be seeing that. So we have to censor that.
Kawaki comes into a room, and another toad is there, but this one is not from Kashin Koji. It's from Amato. And Amato says, like, hey, good timing. I'm almost done at a stopping point in my work. And so Kawaki goes into his lab, and there's a whole bunch of toads all over the place. And Kawaki's like, what is all this? And Amato says, like, oh, I basically aped, like, Kashin Koji's shit. But these are special units customized for me. They're all scientific ninja tools, not living creatures, so you can even shrink them with Sukuna Hikuna, and I have complete control over them. And Kawaki's like, all right, I don't give a shit. What do you want? So, I'm sorry. It's stupid Kawaki bullshit. So, on Amato's monitor, he pulls up a thing and is like, this is the system that controls your combat abilities. As you can see, your current parameters are 85% offense and 15% defense.
Sure, dog, you have stats like a video game, and they can be adjusted and will be. That'll be the focal point. And I love that he sees his stats are 85-15, and Kawaki's first instinct is, you rat fuck, you were supposed to put everything in offense!
I'm supposed to use 100% of my brain power.
Every turn, flamethrower. Unless they're immune to fire, then you switch. Every turn.
And yeah, Amato's like, calm down. Like, you nearly died because you're set at 15% defense. So he says, look, I am actually offering you a chance to fulfill that wish of yours. He has one of the toads get onto Kawaki's neck, and suddenly his attack numbers are at 100 attack and 0 defense, which means he dies. Just right there. He's got no health.
Yep. By Magic the Gathering state-based rules, he would die.
Amato says the values didn't just change on screen, which is a hilarious idea. That he's just like, look, your attacks changed. He just, look, they changed. And I can change.
He's just typing on a WordPad document. Oh, I'm going to give you plus 10 billion attack power for the next 2 sets. It's gone. No, it's all gone now.
Yes, so this is the way that we're going to make Kawaki have a power-up now, is by min-maxing him. He says that with these, he can change his stats remotely and instantaneously. It's like, yeah, sure, whatever. Why not? But he tells Kawaki, like, this is going to be dependent on you having that toad on you at all times. Even when I'm taking a bath or taking a shit. Yes! Yes! So, Kawaki's like, all right, cool. And Amata says, well, I've got one favor to ask of you if you want me to do this, though. And Kawaki's like, I'm not going to give your daughter a karma. It's not that. It's a different thing. Okay. We cut away to Sarada, who catches up with Boruto at a big old tree out on the outskirts of the village. And Sarada says, I'm envious of you that you can fly. Yeah, it kind of makes him like a terrible ninja, though, that he can just fly like Superman. It's very, like, off-brand. So, yeah. Boruto expresses relief that Sarada, her vision, she at least still has her vision, even if it's been affected. And Sarada's like, well, I mean, it's nothing compared to what happened to your right eye. And Boruto just says, well, why are you bringing that up? And she says, well, because I never apologized to you, because it was kind of her fault that his eye got injured because he was protecting her. So she apologizes for that. Boruto says, I mean, look, I had so much going on back then that my eye was the least of my worries. And he's like, and hey, look, it makes me look cool, right? I like totally badass. And she just smiles at him fondly and says, oh, you dummy. And for a moment, oh my God, Quinn.
Like characters interacting in a normal way, having an actual conversation and not just spitting exposition at one another.
They have a moment where like they share emotions and stuff, and in all the like dozens of chapters at this point where we've been hammered over the head with this like Sarada's in love with Boruto, it's like, oh yeah, I kind of believe that she's in love with Boruto actually, because they got a chance to interact where they like seemed fond of each other.
Yeah. You're like, it actually makes sense after reading this chapter.
Off screen, thankfully, so we don't just repeat the same talking points over, Boruto explains to Sarada that he expects that Code is going to come after her. So he also reiterates, like, hey, there's all these claw marks that are all over the village, which happened while we were distracted by fighting Mamushi. So the only thing that we can do to get rid of them is if Kawaki goes around shrinking them with his ability. But even then, like, it would be really hard to locate them all and get rid of them all. And there's always the risk that while they're open, he's going to be eavesdropping on us. And that's why I had us meet outside of the village so that he can't, use them to spy on this conversation. So I'm warning you about him. But Sarada susses that out. But then Boruto says, I also want to give you these. And he gives her some of the like chakra charm things that he uses to teleport around all over the place. And he says, I didn't just tell you about Code Scheme to warn you to be careful. I want you to let him capture you. Because if that happens, he's going to fly you straight to their base, and then I'll get to you using those symbols that I just gave you. It's a reverse trap. In other words, all of the differences in attack and defense will be flipped around.
He's going to use the spell Sword and Shield.
I always thought that was an underrated trap card, by the way. Reverse trap. Came out in like the first ever starter decks. Anyway, so Boruto says, wherever he ends up taking you, just drop those symbols as soon as you arrive. And Sarada's like, well, why do I need to do that? And Boruto says, it's easier to sense the chakra when they're not being held by someone, which seems like an important detail to establish at this time. It feels like that's going to be a thing that comes up. Sarada asks him if there's anything else to say, and Boruto hesitates for a bit, but then he says, look, I'm hoping we're successful, but it is a risky plan, and some things can always happen. And he just says, look, just never give up hope, no matter what happens.
It makes me a little ominous, because now I get the impression that Sarada is going to let herself be captured, and then something will go wrong, and she actually will just be like a captive of theirs. Which kind of suggests she may not be super involved in things going forward. We shall see.
Oh, no, she got turned into a chakra tree, too. Oh,
no. Look, I'm just saying, Sarada, if you turn into a tree, don't worry. I'll make you a girl again so we can fuck. Like, what was that, Boruto?
What? Yeah, I won't fumble it like Konohamaru did.
Yeah. I saw what my teacher was doing, and he fucking sucked at this. So I'm just gonna be straight with it.
It took him 30 years to realize she was into him, and he had to be told by someone else? What the fuck, man?
I refuse to be a character with this little game as Konohamaru.
We cut back over to the tree people, and Jura says to Hidari, like, you keep on reading that one book. Is it really that engrossing? And Hidari says, I'm not actually reading it. I'm just gazing at it. And Jura's like, oh, let me see. And he takes the book, and it's an album of cat pictures.
He's just like me, for real, you know?
Likes cat pictures. And so, Jura's like, well, I guess you're kind of odd. And Hidari says, hey, Jura, when you look at that, what do you think? And Jura's like, I mean, I don't know. I can't really, there's no text. What information am I supposed to take from this? And Hidari just says, you don't find them cute? And Jura looks down at the cats and goes, cute?
Maybe the best scene in all of Boruto. Not just Two Blue Vortex, but the whole thing. It might, if it's all for that scene, it was worth it.
Yeah, the tree people have never been more interesting, in my opinion.
They love antique bookstores and cat pictures.
Yeah. Inojin is outside still. Amato has gone outside. He runs over. Amato is like, I got some data from the battle against Mamushi. Can you go and give this to him when you see the chance? And Inojin's like, you mean Boruto? And Amato's like, no, not Boruto. His accomplice, Kashin Koji. You've met him, haven't you? And Inojin says, yeah, but he hangs out in this weird place, which is a very concerning thing for a 12-year-old to say. But so it's like, maybe you should just give it to Boruto. And Amato says, no. Koji would comprehend right away the significance of this data, so just show it to him. And Inojin's like, okay. And then Amato leaves. And so, just like, all right, that was weird. And Kashin Koji says to him, I have never once seen this scene. Still no prescience updates. We're in the dark. And Inojin's like, what do you want me to do with this freaking flash drive then? And Kashin Koji says, yeah, I'll take it. Just to be safe, I'll wait to check its contents until after my next update. All right.
In case plugging in the flash drive ends reality or something like that.
So, Inojin passes off the flash drive to Little Frog. Kashin Koji does a summoning jutsu thing to call it over, and then he's like, all right, I've got it. And then he senses something that kind of flutters from the flash drive. And he looks around and knows that something is up. And then, he turns around real fast as Kawaki is stuck up behind him. And Kashin Koji is like, wait, what the hell, Kawaki? And Kawaki holds out the frog that he was given, which goes, cul-de-sac, Kashin Koji. And it activates a code phrase which makes Kashin Koji fall unconscious. And, so Amato says, I'm going to move him to the lab using summoning tech. So, that's where the chapter ends. So Amato's got business to do with Kashin Koji. Okay.
Yeah. As mentioned, this is not the worst chapter of Boruto. This is like a perfectly digestible chapter with a couple interesting little story twists that I kind of was able to get on board with. There are, of course, a couple odd moments here and there, but as far as Boruto chapters go, more like this, please.
Yes. If all Boruto chapters were like this, I would be happier in my life. So please do that.
This was like maybe one of the few months where I realized like, oh, we had to talk about Boruto this week, that I wasn't like, oh my god, like actively dreading it the whole time.
Yeah.
All right, Nick, let's talk about Dandadan. Chapter 238, Okarune's decision. So we flash back a little bit from before Okarune and Aira come to save Momo, when they are first kind of heading back to the barber shop, when Yatagarasu was like, look, you're both injured. You can't come to their aid if you're hurt, right? And they're on their way there, and Okarune's like, stop, let me go. I have to go help Momo and Gigi. And Shiratori's like, no, or not Shiratori. Aira is like, no, you can't do that.
It is Shiratori.
Is it Shiratori? Okay.
Aira is Shiratori. Yeah.
I'm mixing it up with, is it Shirogane is the pygmy user? There's like another Shiro name, I feel like, but
I'll check on that.
Anyways, you know, Aira is like, look, like we can't do that. Momo has Gigi nearby. Like, let's just do what they said. But Okarune's like, look, the enemy said they had captured them, so like they're probably gonna try using them as bargaining chips. Like, I have to go help them.
Yukishiro.
Okay, Yukishiro. So we see Aira's just like, how do you plan to help him? And Okarune just outright says, I will accept my defeat. And, you know, they're like, if we just go like this, we're probably just going to end up getting beat anyway. But Okarune stands firm. He's like, look, if I don't go, they're going to be killed. And he just keeps walking, even against Aira's protests. She's like, why won't you understand that I'm trying to get through to you? So she grabs his hand, and she's like, look, I'll take you to the barbershop by force if I have to. You're important to me, Takakura. And she gives him a hug from behind as she kind of starts to, you know, transform a little bit out of her you know, yokai form. And Okarune, without turning around, just says, I love Miss Ayase. And there's basically like 2 pages of silence as he kind of pulls out of her hug, and she reaches out and grabs onto his wrist, and he just, still looking forward, says, I'm sorry. And Aira completely detransforms at this point, watches Okarune leave, then follows up behind him, pulls him over the shoulder, and says, well, if you're going to help Momo Ayase, then I'm coming too. I love you about the same amount.
Oh.
I have thoughts on this.
We're so worried. We're so upset that this was going on. And look at this beautiful fucking moment it led to.
There are other ways to get to this.
I never doubted for a moment.
So, she basically just ends the scene by saying, Takakura, you make me sick. Utterly sick. If you don't make it up to me somehow, I'll never forgive you. And that's when we cut.
So cute.
Yeah, that's when we cut to the present. Our heroes have saved Momo, and she's just like, there's a moment, of course, where Momo's like, Aira, why do you look like that?
What the hell is with you?
And she's like, oh, cool, you can see powers again. That's good. I
love the way that Momo describes Aira's powers.
Yes.
Going like, your hair is so long, and grabbing her own hair to demonstrate.
I also like how she points out, she's like, you're like a completely different person. You're a lot meaner. And she's like, yeah, I'm pissed off right now. You two specifically. But she like reiterates, oh, we heard you guys were captured, but what they must have meant is that they were just trapped in this dinosaur section. And that's when Momo's like, yeah, that's right. Gigi is in a lot of trouble. He got eaten by a dinosaur. And they're like, what kind of dinosaur? She's like, one with a long neck. I think it's a famous one. And we get both of them doing like the Brachiosaurus. And she has no idea. What I love, we know that Aira learned about dinosaurs in preparation for this. she didn't just learn their names. She immediately starts talking shop with Okarun, where she's like, okay, if it's a Brachiosaurus, then that means he probably got swallowed whole, and he just needs to be digested. Like, we have time before that happens.
This is so fucking funny. It's so great.
Yeah, they realize that a Brachiosaurus would have swallowed the creature whole, and it would digest it by grinding them up with stones in its stomach. And we see the chaos of all these dinosaurs going around. Nick, then we turn the page, and a nearly naked clown...
Put on some pants!
A nearly naked clown with a sniper rifle is talking to a cowboy who's also pretty much naked. And
I can tell with him, because he's got...
And this clown explains that, Gigi has been eaten, Momo has been, will be captured soon enough, and it's all possible thanks to the, quote, blockchain virus that he created.
Yes.
So this clown's into crypto.
Yeah, well, I mean, the jokes just kind of write themselves, don't they?
100%. And he explains, I summon up the flesh from the memories of their bones, and Count Cagliostro uses spirit magic to make the dinosaurs move, and we just see an image. I don't even know if this is supposed to be a different person, but there's like a, totem or some kind of fetish over there that's just like hanging out. And I'm like, that could be another person. I don't know. This is a crazy arc right now. But Naked Clown Sniper is like, yes, we are truly the necromancers of a modern age. Turn the page. We are introduced to several different members of the Delacroix family, the family of Vlad. And these multiple characters are going about talking about how, they're doing this to restore the family's name, to rise to the top of the Black Knights. They need the full power of the fairy tale cards, and they need Takakura's powers to perfect it. However, he possesses an id cosmos. He won't accept defeat so easily, so it is necessary to capture his friends to force him to do this. And this one individual is like, and you as well, that is why you were assigned to this, so we can thoroughly force him to do it. Now get to work. And we see, it's Hase, Nick, he's back. And he's
That's
like,
right.
I'll do my
he's
best.
Not fucking done. He didn't get his ass kicked hard enough.
And already, I'm seeing her like, we got the clown sniper. We got the naked cowboy. We may also have a little totem monster that's, doing its powers. We have all these new members. Hase is there. Surely all the pieces are in place. And then we end the chapter, Nick, with a powerless Enron, the Red Baron, biking, presumably towards the location where all our heroes are as well. Or just somewhere, I guess. Yeah. So. But there are... so many various factors going on right now, and I don't even... This is what I'm here for, Nick. This is why we read Dandadan. For a chapter with great character development, and then just a bunch of weird little freaks throughout the rest of the chapter, I was very excited by this. I love the moment with Ira. I love that she is able to directly confront her feelings here in a very raw and earnest way. And Okarun just bluntly has to be like, I'm sorry. I love Momo. That is where it is. And there's this great moment of Ira taking off her powers and joining Okarun. Because we know that Momo and Ira are friends in the sense that they are comrades in battle, that they have fought against life-ending disasters together with their, magic powers and stuff like that. But Ira de-transforming here felt like Ira Shiratori, the person, saying, I love you and I will come help you, with Momo. And because that is how much I care about you right there. And I found something very tender and beautiful to that sentiment.
Ira has had, since her first appearances, a big ego problem, and also very much a vanity issue where, she puts on this big popular act and stuff, which, betrays that she's got, like definitely some not admirable aspects to her personality. So the fact that, she is doing something now very clearly with like, hey, look, this is not ulterior motives speaking. Like, she has been firmly rejected.
Yes.
She knows that she is still going to go and help Okarun because she actually does legitimately care for him. And to a lesser extent, she does care about Momo.
Mm-hmm.
So this feels like a very big satisfying moment for her. And I was really, really happy to see it.
Yeah, it's delivered excellently, and it definitely looks like this arc is going to be another big battle arc, kind of similar to like the Global Space Federation arc or whatever the fuck it was called. Right. But the last time we had that, because you think about all the characters who are in this location, you're like, well, essentially all the main cast, Yatagarasu. We still have the Sea Lion guy. We still have Black Barber. Peeny Weenie is in there, I think, somewhere with his kids. Miss Adachi may be in here somewhere. Like, there's a lot of people involved in this area right now. So it feels like we have space for a lot of different conflicts to go down.
Yeah, it makes me wonder if all this stuff with the power stealing and everything, if like it's not actually going to be resolved in this arc. Because like, especially like if we've met, the guy trying to do Dandadan and everything is like, well, are we going to deal with him later potentially?
Yeah, so. I mean, we know that not the Red Baron, the guy who looks like Saint Germain, is working with the Vlad character, but doesn't seem to be fully in support of him. So that kind of seems to be using him for his own purpose. So it'll be curious to see if that all kind of comes to a head here.
Yep. All right, let's go on to Animal Signal.
Yeah.
Chapter 3. Tapers do their business in the water. But we don't start with tapers at all, Quinn. We start with giraffes. Giraffes have super buff hearts because, they've got to pump blood all the way up their long-ass necks. And, so we again have, Tsubasa going over stuff, and Kokone is like, oh, wow, this is great. You sound so great when you're going over animal facts. And Tsukasa is just really happy to be going to an animal-filled school again. And then, again, Kokone is like, why am I listening to him? why am I listening to his thoughts about animal facts?
I only get to use this 3 times a day for a minute at a time. Why do I keep wasting it listening to animal facts?
Oh, boy. So, Kokone is like, hey, have you adjusted to your new class? And Tsubasa is like, yes. And internally he's like, no, I haven't. So Tsubasa notes like, yeah, I guess we're in different classes. And Kokone explains like, yes, well, I'm in Class A. And Class A is reserved for people who have contributed significantly to the school to get placed there or have really high grades. And at just that moment, the student council president, Aoi Kaido, who is this very shiny-looking young man who carries a fan with him all the time. And so he greets Kokone and says like, oh, and you must be our new transfer student, Tsubasa Makise. And says, oh, I know. Apparently you know about animals, I've heard. Do you like animals? And Tsubasa's like, yeah. And Kokone thinks to herself, you have no idea how much he likes animals. So we just get this panel full of his internal thoughts where he goes like, yeah, I like them a lot. And they're all like, I love animals. I love animals. So Aoi reiterates to Kokone an offer that he has previously made to her, which is that he wants her help with student council matters. And she says like, look, I've got job stuff to worry about, so I can't really do that. And I was like, oh, are you sure you could just do it while you're off the clock? And she's like, that's when I don't want to work though. Which is very relatable.
Yes.
But I points out like, hey, we've got all these requests for help. The student council is just inundated with them. For example, this right here, the mystery mound. I've got all these students wondering why there are just these little mounds in the outdoor areas, and there are so many of them too, and it keeps on recurring. What's going on? And Tsubasa whispers to Kokone in a very cute little measure, which shows that he's not really comfortable talking to anyone else when going over animal stuff. But he just whispers in her ear, so she doesn't even have to read his thought this time, which is, oh, it's just a mole. The moles come by probably because there's like some nice food in here, and then when they're digging, they push dirt up to the surface. Which in this very cute little image, this mole is fucking adorable.
Yeah,
I love
I
this little
I
mole.
feel like if I saw a real mole like that, I'd be like, ew, gross. But in a cartoon, I'm like, this is the most adorable. Why aren't they making more Pixar movies about this kind of creature? This is incredible.
So Aoi's like, "Oh wow, that's amazing! You know all this stuff. You're such a fascinating fellow," and gives him this big, like big pat on the shoulder. We get a visualization of this behavior of moles, which is that it's like it's like high class madames going to a high class grocery store, which is very silly. But Aoi implores Tsubasa, like, "Hey, come on! Don't you want to like go and help us out? Let's be off and do this." And very forcibly kind of pulls him off. And so Kokone is like, oh, I mean, okay, but I'm sure that Tsubasa will give up soon. I mean, like, I'll think of just some comforting words for him when he comes back to me. But no, Aoi and Tsubasa hit it off, and Tsubasa is helping the student council solve all sorts of animal-related mysteries. We just get this montage with lots of visualizations of them, including a little spider web. And we even get a story in the school newspaper, which I suppose is the definition of you're always going to have something to write about in the school paper, so you might as well. And it just says, like, man, they're the dream team.
These guys are the coolest.
And Kokone has the most adorable reaction to this, which is, Tsubasa's my partner. We're the dream team. Oh, boy. So, oh no, she's getting jealous. And then we get this great page turn because Aoi's going, "Oh man, you're so sharp, Mr. Tsubasa." And Tsubasa is explaining, "Tapers poop in water."
We know where the title of Cage comes from now.
Yeah. And he explains, like, yeah, so they do it to keep predators away. The water obscures the smell and hides their location. And so, there's someone who's got a taper anima that they're talking with. And the taper anima guy's like, I see. Maybe getting my butt wet will fix my constipation. Sure, give it a try. Yep, we get a whole lot of doo-doo talk. This is
this was the most childish of all the chapters of it, and there was still a small part of me. It's like, good. We've been craving this, honestly, in our own way.
But Kokone gets like really like defensive over like Tsubasa sharing this stuff because she gets the whole thing because she's like, it's not just what about the things that he says out loud. There's so many facts inside his head that he's not saying. And he goes through this whole thing about tapers having a specialized favorite place to go and do their business. And she's like, Tsubasa's animal facts are way more interesting than you could ever know. It's not fair. Prez doesn't know Tsubasa like I do. Not like I care. All right. So she's like, it's fine though. He's only doing this because we don't have ACC work to do together. As soon as we get a new case, then we'll be back together. And so she gets a call from someone at the ACC the next day, and she's really excited that they've got a case to work on. So there's a rabbit anima person on the other line named Uzaki, who's like, wow, I can't believe you're so excited about work. And she's like, oh no, it's whatever. What's the case? And before she gets the details, she spots through a series of windows Tsubasa's with a girl. A gasp. And Kokone dashes off and is like, what the hell? Is Tsubasa suddenly popular with the ladies? Wait a minute. They went in the student council's office. Oh, I guess it's someone else in the student council then. And she's like, maybe I'll just use my ability to read thoughts through the door and figure out what's going on. And she's like, no, what am I doing? Like, why do I care? It doesn't even matter if Tsubasa is close with anyone. But then she's like, I only wanted to be partners with me, though. And she gets all nervous and stuff. And then Tsubasa opens the door. Kokone spots her there. And Tsubasa says, I might be able to transfer into Class A. I'm really excited. And then, snapping open Aoi's fan is the young woman that Tsubasa was with. And, oh, that is Aoi. They're a woman now. And, of course, Kokone is like, what? Are you the president's sister? And she says, no, I am Aoi Kaido. And Kokone is like, how? And Aoi says, by becoming a woman, of course. Like it's just
What?
the most natural thing in the world.
Animal Signal says happy Pride, everybody. Sending us off. And we're like, we only got one more week. Don't worry. Our trans character's getting into the series.
And yeah, it's just explained, oh, well, Aoi Kaido's is a clownfish anima. And the dominant male in groups of clownfish changes into a female. Yeah. And so that's what happened to Aoi Kaido. After being regarded as the most dominant male here, she became a woman. And Aoi's like, this is just proof that everyone has faith in me if they're present. Not perturbed at all.
No,
You do you.
I was gonna say, this couldn't be a more open and shut situation. They're like, and I am a woman now because I was the most powerful and incredible of the men. Fantastic.
It's like, well, all right. Let's do some deep literary analysis here.
I have been told, I don't know anything about the Amazing Digital Circus, but if I understand correctly, the trans allegories are not currently in people's reading comprehension skill base right now.
I've kind of heard something along the same lines, and I have equally little familiarity. So, yeah. So, I was like, oh, okay. That just means that the girl that Tsubasa was with was just the president then. Honey, why are you relieved?
I like it. She's like, oh, there's no threat there. Then I'm like, is there not?
Sure? She was the most dominant male. Did you not hear the whole explanation? So yeah, Tsubasa says like, yeah, but going back to all the Class A stuff then, and Tsubasa's like, yeah, you said that like to get into Class A, you have to have contributed significantly to the school. And Kokone realized like, oh, you were helping out with everyone's issues because you wanted to be in the same class as me. And Tsubasa's like, yeah.
Come on.
The more chances I had to be by your side, the more I can prove myself as your partner. And Kokone, stares at him for a bit, and then she's like, what are you saying? You're already my trusty And now he comes in. Ah, yes, you put in such fine work. And she is just as like touchy and intrusive as she was as a guy. So she's, putting her arm around Tsubasa's shoulders. And it's like, you've got all this difficulty speaking with others. I would love to have you on the student council. And she's just all over Tsubasa. And Kokone gets the big puffy, jealous cheeks over it. And Tsubasa's like, what were you just going to say? Nothing. So they have a no case to work on. And so Tsubasa's like, oh, what kind of case is it? And Kokone realizes, like, I didn't listen to the call and didn't get any of the details. So yeah, we have established seemingly a side character for the two of them to interact with in all of this. I can definitely tell you, when I began this chapter, I was not expecting the character introduced in this chapter to just physically turn into a girl in this way.
Normally you have to wait till like 1,300 chapters of One Piece to occur before a character shows up who has the power to just do that.
Yeah. So, all right. It's been 3 chapters of Animal Signal, Quinn.
Mm-hmm.
I guess we got to decide if we want to keep on reading this.
Yeah. So I'm of two minds for this. On one hand, I really enjoy this manga. We've read Tsusui's 2 other series in the magazine at this point. He's not writing this one, but still drawing it, and it feels like it's, appropriate to follow up on that. But at the same time, our recap is very filled right now, and nothing we have is ending. We think there's a couple series that will be, Blue Box and Hima-Ten seem very likely, but neither of them are confirmed. So I am also existing in this place that looks at our recap as it ever expands and says, like, do we have a spot for it right now? And I don't know 100% about that.
How about this? I was going
to
just
stop reading Blue Box.
Well, how about this? I was going to say yes to it because I am very much enjoying reading this. Given that we are in the state where it really seems like we're going to get some stuff ending sooner rather than later, we both seem to like reading this, but it is clearly like a case of the week kind of thing. There's always a little mystery that's all within the one chapter. It seems very self-contained, kind of makes it easy to skip stuff. So maybe we could just hold off on adding it until one of those series that we are currently doing drops, and then we can add it in at that time. So then we don't worry about things being too bloated.
Very possibly. All right, hold on. I'm about to read something. That isn't helpful. That's like 2 months ago. Yeah, I don't know. Foxcloud in our chat, or Foxcloak in our chat, seems to be saying that there was news that Hima-Ten is coming to an end. But I haven't seen anything official to that regard. So
Right.
if someone
I'm expecting this will be resolved in a matter of weeks, honestly. Like, I'll be shocked, like, if a month from now, one thing hasn't dropped out of Jump. So.
Okay. So that's the deal. The first time something gets out, boom, we're bringing Animal Signal back in. And look, if One Piece goes on break next week, I'm like, look, sorry. I think I wanted to see how it ended too, but...
No, it's gone. No, you're going to have to wait for something to come out, to rotate out for you to rotate back in, Oda. That's what you get. You lose the valuable WMR slots.
Yeah, you snooze, you lose. This is Kubo's spot now. We got to talk about Bleach again.
Cannon Master, new series, Chapter 1, Master and Disciple on the Frontier. This series, Quinn, was not to be read aloud. This series has names in it that are very confusing to me.
And the Regoliths and the Slayliths.
The Slayliths? Go fuck yourself with these terminology. They're just Slayers. Just call them Slayliths. Gross. Feels weird on my tongue. There's this kind of desert world. There's big robotic looking creatures, like very much Colossus from Shadow of the Colossus, kind of, called Regoliths. And there are specialized hunters that ride around on a horse to go after them, called Slayliths. This is about a particular Slaylith who lives in the small village to the west, Haishira. And a Slaylith has brought back the Regolith that was causing trouble in the land. His name is Barat, and he's got this little apprentice guy who was with him named The whole thing is that Barat is very much admired and adored by the whole village. Is probably his most ardent supporter and fan. They have this big celebration, and there is a traditional boulder smashing contest that they hold. And so we get to see that, oh man, Barat just punches the boulder and he splits it almost all the way through. And then completely shatters and obliterates the boulder, because it turns out the apprentice is way, way stronger than Barat. And Barat just is like, I've got this superpowered apprentice who has just fully overtaken me. Don't really know how to deal with that. And so he's just kind of like constantly like diverting him to try and make sure that like he doesn't run fully amok. I don't know why exactly. I think the idea is that he doesn't think that is mature enough to handle his power. I think. You don't really get insight into that at all, why he's holding this guy back. Maybe he's fucking jealous. I don't know. But so he's like, considers me his role model, and so I've got to be a master worthy of his respect no matter what it takes, I guess. So he keeps on giving him these kind of like pointless exercises to do. So he like gives him this big, huge ass balloon, and he's like, here, blow this thing up. And he does that. He blows into it and it immediately inflates it so much that it immediately bursts. So that didn't work. He says that he's doing his, workout routine that Barat has given him every single day, which includes running 125 miles. Okay.
All right.
And he's also taken up baking. Eventually goes off and comes back, and he's like, I've decided that I am not worthy to be your apprentice anymore because you keep on saying I'm not ready. I haven't learned a single technique from you, so clearly I'm not as fit to be your apprentice. I'm going to be a baker instead. Apparently he's a really good baker too. Look at those gorgeous fucking looking pastries that he's made, I guess. But he's like, I got a new dream now. Anyway, a Regolith attacks. Roar. It's big. It looks like kind of like a giant dog lion thing. It's caused all sorts of problems. Barat goes off to confront it with his magic flute. It fires a laser. Barat is barely keeping up with it. He says like, okay, you need to fight this Regolith with me. And is like, I can't, because, I'm a baker now. So Barat makes a robe take on the form of a goblin glider and rushes off after the rhino Regolith thing, fighting it, tries to launch an attack at point blank range, but it has a magic barrier, which is makes it even harder to take on. eventually Barat comes back. He's got a head wound and stuff, and he realizes, oh man, this is really bad. The only thing I can do is distract it so that and all the villagers can escape. But then he smacks himself across the face, and he's like, become a baker or do whatever else you like, but you still haven't earned the right to worry about your own master. And he realized, like, yep, I know that I became a slave and that there's a huge payout for this kind of lifestyle, but that's not the only reason I became a slave. I joined because, and he remembers the time that he met comforted him, and helped him out. And he just says to her in the present, Barat the undefeatable hero is here. I'll defeat any monster that comes our way. He rushes off to fight it, realizes, I don't have my magic flute with me. Did I drop it? And then just comes in, flying, kicks the lion thing, sends it flying, dashes around, knocks it into the ground, dashes across its claws, smashes it up a bunch, and Barat's just like, this guy's just way too strong. And so he says to like, what are you doing? And says, I remembered after seeing you fight, back when I was surrounded by regoliths and didn't know what to do, you risked it all to protect me just as you are now. You inspired me. That's why I asked to become your apprentice. You use your arts to protect people, so I want to become someone strong enough to protect others just like you. Please let me train under you again. And Barat starts to say, like, yeah, of course, but oh no, the regolith gets back up. But fortunately, has the magic flute thing, and he blows into it just like he did with the giant-ass balloon before. And this time it casts a massive, huge laser beam thing, which counters the blast that the regolith sends out, shatters through its shield, blows it the fuck up, stuns Barat with how powerful it is. And he's like, that flute is not capable of piercing that barrier. So I don't know what he did, but he just launched something at the same level as a regolith's cannon. Wait. Whatever did looked a whole lot like and then he dismisses the possibility and realizes, like, this guy has not just strength that outclasses mine, it's something that rivals the regoliths in power. So what do I do now? And basically he just realizes, like, the situation hasn't changed. I gotta keep on looking after this kid and making sure that I guide him along the right path.
Yeah, so this is Raya Machita's first real serialized series in Jump. They have been doing one-shots and things of that nature. And I do think there are parts of the series where you can kind of tell this is somebody's, like, first serialized work. But in other ways, I'm actually very impressed with, like, the world building that gets done in this first chapter. The series has, a distinct sort of visual to it, not just in the fact that it's taking place in, like, an arid kind of desert climate, which just kind of clashes with, like, the usual, like, Japan or fantasy Europe kind of thing going on. And also we get, like, sort of a different lead. Not that, like, oh, the main character is really strong. Is that surprising? We've had plenty of that in Jump, especially recently. But there is sort of, like, the Regan mob or Mr. Satan and whomever kind of situation going on between our two leads. That's all good. For whatever reason, these elements are not clicking together very well. This is just the first chapter, so it sort of remains to be seen. And there might be a little bit of antagonism on my part because I didn't read this series initially. I thought this was one of those series that, like, English Jump just added. Yeah, I was like, I don't need to read this because nothing ended in the magazine. And I was like, no, wait, there are 3 new series. Fuck, I do have to read this one. But I do think there are elements that could make this series more interesting as it is. It's just kind of, it's fine,
Yeah, I mean, definitely for, like, the first, like, ongoing Jump series that Machida has, the art's very impressive, yeah. I would say. But I'm there with you in that I don't think that the plot itself is very compelling for whatever reason. And I think it kind of comes down to, we know that, like, Barat is holding this kid back, but it's not really, like, given a concrete reason as to why he's doing that. If he just considers to be too dangerous to be allowed to fight these things, which why? If it's because he feels an inferiority complex and he needs to, like, protect his position as the celebrity of this village, or what? But also, honestly, when it was introduced, they're like, oh, I found this kid. and he was just like super strong. I was immediately like, oh, well, he's a regolith then. Like he's like some sort of special regolith. Like it just kind of seems like the obvious like idea to throw out there. And sometimes the obvious answer is the right one, but the way that we get that idea thrown out there, it just feels like it's just thrown out there. It doesn't feel like it has a lot of impact behind it, which for a chapter that's got so many like big, well-crafted visuals, it does seem like an obvious, like, you know, again, kind of storytelling shortcoming there of like, yeah, you gotta let people know like what the big important moments are, not just in terms of the action, but in terms of like the story beats by having your art choices reflect that too.
Yes.
I don't really, it didn't really connect with me in this one chapter. We'll read a couple more and see if that changes. But yeah, it's an adventure manga.
Yep. In the meantime, Nick, we have HAL Formula to discuss. Chapter 2. He doesn't die in this one either.
No, it's chapter 2, Turning Point, and he doesn't turn towards the grave in this one either. Yeah, so our hero, whose name I still have not memorized yet, I'm sorry. Yep, we catch up with him like immediately after that first race where it seemed like he was, you know, gonna get fired and stuff. And the first thing that happens is they're like, oh yeah, boss wants to go and talk to you. And he's like, oh man, I guess I gotta go, like, you know, get fired. And she's like, yeah, your termination's been revoked. You won a race, so I got that revoked for you. So, and she does, like, you know, she does kind of maintain that same attitude with him that we've seen before of kind of being like, I support you, but I'm also going to be, you know, hard on you because of expectations and everything. And so she says like, hey, took you long enough, basically. Miharu goes, meets up with Haruka, who is, you know, being looked after by the team manager, Kiriko, who, boy, she sure is a shy girl that's got a crush on him.
Oh, come on, Nick. How did this character show up and you're immediately just like, oh, I love her. I want nothing bad in the world ever better happen to her. And I hope every green light is active when she's driving home today.
I do like how comfortably she is dressed, I must say.
Yeah.
So yeah, Kiriko is like super embarrassed around him all the time. Then Miharu, because she's like even like, oh, I gotta congratulate him. I just have to congratulate him before I leave. And then Miharu just says to her, hey, thanks, good night. And she's like, oh, good night. Congratulations on your victory. And then she runs off and is like, yay, I said it.
I've been this in my life. Even sometimes recently, I'm like, I said the thing. Now I can run away in victory.
Oh boy. So Haruka has made a roadmap, an evolution chart, he calls it, of like, hey, this is like what you're going to do. Like you're going to like go here and then you're going to do this and you're going to do this. Basically, he makes like a Dr. Stone roadmap to getting the formula for something, except it's like you're going to, you know, be crowned the, you know, champion of WF1 eventually. And, you know, Miharu's like, I mean, it feels like you're being a little bit over ambitious here and stuff. And Haruka's like, oh no, I mean, like, you can do it. You're going to be the champion in WF4 this year. And Miharu's like, there's only 7 races left. Half the season is already over. And Haruka's like, you can do it. Just get single potty for the rest of the races. Basically, he means
get on the podium.
Get a podium.
Yeah.
The whole rest of the tournament thing.
But he says it in like a cool Gen Alpha slang way where he calls it potty instead of podium.
Or he's a child and he thinks that it sounds funny to say potty. Who knows?
That is true.
Honestly, that's kind of like everything when it comes to Gen Alpha right now. Is that they think it's funny and they'll say it. So it's either really cool or really funny, and we're 2 generations removed from them, so we don't get it.
Mm-hmm.
So Haruka looks to Miharu and says, like, hey, you ended up winning when I thought you'd win. You can do all these things. And Miharu admits, like, you know what? I do, like, want to do all of those things. And it would be great if I could do that. Because then, also, I would earn money and we'd get to, like, live better and stuff. When you tell me I can, I really feel like I can do it. So that's nice. So he looks over again the evolution chart, and he says, "This is a dream for both of us, Haruka." And he's like, "This is part of our reality now." He actually believes he can achieve it, as opposed to in the first chapter when he was like, "I can't do this. I'm too scared." So we get preparation for the next race. We get, announcers talking about all the stuff, and of course they're saying like, "Hey, you got to pay attention to that Suzukaze kid. He won the previous race." So it's like, yeah, you got to pay attention to him, sure. That one manager person says like, "Hey, we're gonna have a visitor in the pit. Let me introduce you to former WF1 driver Matsuba Kyokoku, and he's got a cool scar in his cheek." Immediately, Miharu goes over and shakes his hand. It's like, "I am so honored to meet you." And he has to be like dragged away because like you're supposed to focus on the race. Come on. But so we get into like their trial run. So this is where they're not actually the races aren't actually trying to beat each other. And so they just have timed practice races, and so this is how they determine like the positions ahead of the race, which I think I learned that from like video games when I was a kid. It's like not something that like I think a lot of people think of when they
when you think
hear
of the
about
pole
like racing
position and
cars.
whatnot. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So Miharu realizes something weird is going on as he's racing, and he says to the pit crew, "Did you guys like lower the rear tire pressure or something?" Which we get a helpful little pop-up that says, "Oh, lowering the rear tire pressure improves grip on the track, making it easier to turn, but it also reduces speed." And they're like, "No, it's the same as yesterday. Is it okay? Like your times are good. Did you have a hard time driving?" And Miharu just says, "Well, no, it felt like it was actually really easy to drive. I don't know. I guess as long as my times are good, I guess." Kyogaku comes over and says like, "Hey, you had a great lap." And then he says to Miharu, "Does Sugo feel narrow to you today?" Miharu has no idea how to respond to that. So Kyogaku wishes him luck and says, "Let me hear your answer later." And so Miharu is still thinking about that as he's in his car preparing for the actual race. And he's like, "Sugo, it does feel tight. This circuit has the narrowest track in Japan. The track is always about a car's width narrower than anywhere else." So, the team engineer, Dan Domine, what a name, says, is giving him advice with everything because he's like, "Hey, you're actually in a good position to start this." So, and then Miharu brings up to him, was like, "Do you know if the people in charge can change the width of the track here?" "Stop talking nonsense."
What?
Immediately dismisses what he's saying as crazy talk. So Miharu starts off racing. They're going about everything, and as he's doing stuff, he's like, "All right, I'll hold my position here. Don't take any unnecessary risks." And then as he's racing, he's like, "There's a clear-ass lane for me to just go past everyone." And he tears past another car as they go around a turn, and the announcers are shocked and they're like, "Holy shit, he just took a really narrow inside turn." And Dan Domine is like, "What is he doing?" But Kyogaku gets really excited and he's smiling to himself. And yep, Miharu is having a great ass race, and he's like, "Why isn't anybody on the inside of the track? There's all this space for me to just blow past them." And Domine is speaking with one of the mechanics, Nagisa, who is like, "Why did he do that? Like, how did he make that turn so easily?" And Domine says there was not space on the track there for even a single car to go past. And Miharu, meanwhile, is just like, "This is just so easy. I've got so much room to just get around everyone. What is going on here?" And then he remembers the advice that Kyogaku had, the little note of like, "Does it feel narrow to you today?" And Kyogaku privately thinks to himself, that you did it. I knew it." And basically, Miharu is like, "Oh, the human instinct at all times is to prioritize preserving your life. And so you unconsciously prevent yourself from taking unnecessary risks." But because he has now gotten past that with the massive wall of debris that didn't kill him, he just sees like, I can just go over there. And he doesn't have that subconscious part of his mind going, you will die if you do that. So he feels that he can just do that now. And Kyokaku describes this as the life or death route for overtaking. And this was something that Miharu just never observed before. And Kyokaku's like, yeah, of course it's fast, because, centrifugal force pushes you to the edge. It's almost losing the wheel, and it makes you press the accelerator harder than anyone else in order to take it. The one who keeps their foot on the gas the longest is the fastest. But nobody would take that kind of route. It would not even cross their mind for an ordinary person. No one is stupid enough to put their life on the line just for victory. No one, except for you and me, Suzukaze. So, yeah, Kyokaku says, now you have achieved this racing style. Unstoppable red zone overtaking. In the world of racing, those reckless enough to go beyond the limit either die hated or are loved and become superstars.
Hey, we're running a little short on time, so I want to kind of keep my thoughts a little bit brief and simply say this is, I think, a better chapter. Maybe not a better chapter, but it's getting me a slightly more into the story. I'm still not fully into this one. I think it's maybe missing that element that our two leads from Greens had with one another that made that story about a sport I don't care about more engaging. And I haven't quite gotten there with this series yet.
Yeah, we need to have a really cute and very cool female racer rival / tutor for Miharu in order to get and have a really good story for her whole personality and stuff as well.
Yeah,
then maybe that'll take us over.
What do you mean? We had Kiriko this chapter, Nick, the team manager.
Yeah, but she's not in that fucking car, so.
All right. All right. Until next time.
Hima-Ten, Chapter 95. Hima 95. Just my girl. Yep. So Honoka gave Iemori that whole big letter confessing her feelings to him, and wraps up now in this beginning of this chapter saying, I've kept how I've felt hidden from you since middle school. It's now our second year of high school, and I think that after you worked for Himari as her house cleaner, you probably made a lot of special memories with her. But we've made a ton of good memories too, haven't we? And instinctively I was like, have you? And it does go over. It's like, well, we went on our first day. We went to the comedy show.
We did all these things.
I guess they did things, yes.
Yeah. Every dozen or so chapters, Honoka would get one, and that means that really she's the winner in all this.
Right. And Honoka wraps this up by saying, because you were there with me, even all the most mundane things felt special to me. I'd like to tell you one last thing. If you let me have some of your time during the trip, I'll be waiting. And now they've met up in person. Iemori had a big cry when he was reading her letter. And now in person, Honoka says, will you? And then she goes, ow, and buckles over. And she's like, I've had a stomach ache since yesterday, because she was all nervous and stuff. And she's like, can you give me a minute? And Iemori just says, I like you too, Kanai. I've liked you this entire time. I've always wanted to be with you, but I couldn't figure out how to tell you. I'm sorry I made you wait. And then he gets down on his knees in front of her and says, let's move in together someday. Calm down.
Yeah. Ease up, buddy.
I want to take care of the home we build together. Whoa. Will you go out with me? Should have started with that. Honoka sees this brilliant golden, all that you wanted beacon shining in front of her, and cocks her shotgun to blow it all away by going, are you sure it's me you want?
Nothing more attractive than this, but at the same time, I also know what it's like to seek validation from others, especially when you don't think you're good enough. I do get that. Her story is feeling inadequate in comparison to Himari, so I could see why she would want to clarify.
Yes. Iemori reiterates, the times I've spent with you have felt the most special. When I tried to carry the whole class's notebooks, you were the one there to take half my burden. You were the one who was always there to help me. And Honoka just leans in and kisses him and says, yes, I might not be the demure girlfriend you were imagining. If that's okay, I'll always love you, Tanichi. I feel weird reading this chapter. I feel like I descended on an alien planet when I was reading this chapter. This felt really fast to me. Iomori starts to get flustered, but then Mayu comes out. She was hiding in the bushes for the whole thing. Good for her. She congratulates Honoka, gives her a big hug. Fucking
this pissed me off so much.
I know.
I was like, your fucking boy has been desperately craving advice and trying to figure out the situation, and this motherfucker was nowhere. But the second it came time for him to shoot his shot, boom, look who's coming out of the bushes too. Oh, it's his bud.
Yokomizo comes out, is like, lucky you, Tanichi. And yeah, no one came to him for advice. No, this is the worst shoe clone ever.
I was going to say, you are not a good shoe if you can't even at least be there for your boy.
Remember how we kind of cared that Shu and Ruru were going to get together?
Yeah.
Because this chapter...
It's like,
fucking...
the fact that he
says, oh yeah, Maya was rooting for you guys to get together. Let's let the lovebirds do their thing, Mayu. And Mayu's like, but we're all already here. We should spend time together. And Yokomizu just goes, hey, notice me too. I've been waiting for that this whole time. What the fuck are you talking about?
The fact this motherfucker's like, I'm going to steal a little bit of the thunder of their big moment to be like, I also have a little bit of a secret affection going on here.
Well, we've got the lovey atmosphere going on. Hey, let's you and me go out too. And it fucking works.
Yeah, absolutely. Why wouldn't it?
Oh my god. Maya's like, you were crushing on me, and Yokomizo says, why do you think I helped you so much? With what? You've barely been in this series, dude. I guess the joke is that Iomori and Honoka are both like, what? So it's supposed to be a joke that like this happens out of nowhere, but still, fuck you. Honoka goes and thanks Himeno for all of her help. She gives her big congratulations, and then Himeno goes over to Iomori and is like, hey, good job, buddy. You picked the one. And Honoka's like, what are you talking about? And Himeno's like, nope, that's our thing. I won't talk about it. Privately, Himeno thinks to herself, I guess I might have been rooting for Kanai. Seeing her have this crush, for such a long time, I gave up my youth to become an idol. I'll never have what she had. I'm glad that I became a teacher, if you know what I mean. And it's like, that's actually got a nice little moment.
Sure.
Like, I didn't get to have this experience. I got to help
someone else do it. Yeah. And I think there's something very beautiful about that.
And also the proper amount of time to invest in that moment.
Yes, that was an adequate amount of Himono tax to have to pay.
Yes. Rumor starts to spread that Iomori and Honoka are going out together. Terasaka, overhears this stuff, and she remembers, like Himari telling her about this, and because she was like, "Hey, I went down fighting, but I never got to ask him out." Well, you did go on a date. You kind of did, but whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And Terasaka thinks to herself, "You're amazing, Himari. That's why I need to tell her about my secret. That I'm not just her childhood friend. I'm also her biggest fan." And she looks at Iomori and Honoka and thinks, "Hey, I've got Himari covered, Tanichi." And then she goes over to him and says, like, "Hey, congrats." Then Iomori's like, now that we're back from the trip, I gotta return the key and thank Yoshino. So, I guess we're going in this direction now.
Well, yeah, I mean, I get the impression that Hima-Ten is not much longer for the world, and we get a conclusion. And fully and completely, I will be honest, I was wrong in assuming that because the series was called Hima-Ten, that Himari was going to be the one that ended up with him. I've heard some people speculate that the Japanese market has not been receptive to Himari, and this is kind of like a pivot. I don't know if that's true or not. I will reiterate, though, what I said a couple weeks ago, which is like, look, if Himari is the end girl, it just, like, it's fine. It just kind of makes me wonder why we bothered doing this manga, because it's kind of a boring conclusion to be like, I had a crush on this girl since middle school. She also had a crush on me. We got together. And it's like, all right, but that's...
Yeah. I get where you're coming from. Onodera getting together with Raku in Nisekoi. It's like if that had happened if Onodera got less development than she did. Because she did not get a great amount. But there was, an element to that series of like where there was an actual mystery of stuff going on and stuff, and there wasn't really any twists and turns in this. It was a very straightforward, like, a bunch of girls had a crush on Iomori, and he just, kind of like kept the same crush that he had after having some really weird hang-ups on all of their crushes for him, where he kept on questioning them. It was very strange. I did see this whole thing with Terasaka going like, I got Himari covered, and I was like, sudden Yuri ship? I'll take that. But the other thing that doesn't make me think is maybe there was a plan in place because they're in their second year of high school. Maybe the idea was that this series was supposed to cover the second and third years of high school, and maybe Iomori and Honoka were supposed to get together for part of that.
Okay.
And then
break up.
And then Himari would be the girl that Iomori ultimately ends up with. And they were just cutting that short because plans change. Sometimes ongoing series change because the reception to different characters is not what you expect. And, sometimes you don't have as much ground to cover. Maybe the decision is like, well, just cut it short here instead of like trying to rush to the original idea for an end game. And sometimes, the original ending you have in mind is not good for a series. See How I Met Your Mother. Like, so, I don't know exactly. This felt very sudden to me anyway. It does feel very much like, the series is probably going to end soon.
That is the main thing of it. But honestly, my biggest gripe with this chapter is the friend coming in being like, why don't we go ahead off somewhere to let these love... I'm like, this is a fucked up weird thing to do, my guy. This is a weird way to handle this.
This is like wearing white on somebody else's wedding day.
It really is. They were crying a second ago.
I think we need to put that down on some sort of like year-end award.
Yeah.
So
this is a what the fuck moment of the year. Yeah.
This deserves to be remembered for bad reasons. Absolutely. All right, Kinato's Magic, Chapter 20, Beyond Stiff, which weirdly enough is noted as Chapter 19 in the body of the chapter itself. How weird.
Yeah, I guess.
Anyway.
It's just
I don't know. Kinato is running around as the Majo hunting thing continues. A bunch of girls go to capture him, and he gives them orgasms with Seitai magic. It's worse than the previous one, but not as bad as we've had. So,
and you know what? When you just like accept that you're like, oh, there's just one page of Kanato's magic, I'm gonna skip over every week. It gets a lot easier.
It's the Shokugeki no Soma effect. Yeah, you're just gonna like go past it.
Yeah, like every so often it'll make me laugh. Most of the time, I just flip on by.
Tarasu is now engaged in combat with Sazaku. Tarasu is saying like, you're using forbidden power to become chief and close the Majo village off even further. And Sazaku says, actually, no. I believe the Majo should go forth into the world. I don't want the Majo to join hands with outsiders. The Majo are a superior people who should stand above all others. Don't you think the Majo are wonderful? We hone our physical boosting technique from the time we're children. Your grandmother told me that this Amrita is a product of the beautiful Majo culture, and that's why we need to show everyone who we are. We shouldn't pander to the weak. We must maintain our pride as a strong people. This Lunar Flying Festival is a dry run. We're going to show the outside world how strong the Majo are when I lead them. And Tarasu has a moment where she's, introspective, and she admits, like, yes, this power is the culmination of what our ancestors built, but it's not meant to be used as a brute force to trample others. And she remembers the words of her mother that why she wanted the Majo to join hands with everyone. And she says, the reason we cultivate this power is to protect the small and the weak. You were protected by that power once too. That's the duty of those who are more powerful. Very cool little moment for her. I love it. Very good, concise little speech of, this is why you're wrong. You used to benefit from other people being nice to you, and you are being hypocritical, basically.
Yes.
Good stuff. Engage in battle. Sazaku unleashes more power that Tarasu is caught off guard by, and she says, does this power look like it's meant to protect people? You better stop me before you die, little Tarasu. Cut back over to Kinato. All those girls are having a great time. Kinato's like, I gotta go now. And all the girls are like, okay.
Okie dokie.
Kinato gets to a bridge. and he is stopped by two more people, Gin and Kin, because they're twins, you see. It's a very common thing because the names mean gold and silver, and also they rhyme with each other. And the two of them, their bodies are very clearly affected by Amrita as well, but Kinato is just concerned because their bodies are way beyond stiff. This is an emergency. And he's like, that's what's wrong with you guys, and it's putting a huge burden on your bodies. And they're a little actually surprised by this because the Amrita is seemingly forcibly drawing out their power. He says, I can sense an abnormal aggravation in your mana circuits, changing your muscles into something else. If I can adjust the flow of it, I might be able to get you back to normal. And he starts kind of like going over in his head like what he can do. And so they rushed in to attack him. But at that moment, Jin arrives. Big old like bicycle kick thing to get them both. The girl that he encountered before is still riding on his back, and she gets some funny slapstick moments where she's just, like on his shoulders and just kind of like wailing on him from behind, which is kind of funny. So Jin and Kinato catch up with what they're supposed to be doing. So Jin says, I'll take care of the people here. You go and take care of the people up ahead because, they've got to get the word to Tarasu. And also Kinato has to look after Karyu and Lana because they're in trouble. Probably much more badly hurt than anyone else. So Kinato rushes off and Jin says, you just leave this to your buddy. We cut back over to Tarasu. She's not doing well. She is
what do you mean? She's got her opponent right where she wants her.
Aha, I have you in standing while I kneel on my hands and knees in front of you.
Sure, it looks like she's groveling for her worthless life, but it's all to lure her opponent in.
I'll butt your ankles from this position. Ha! Tarasu is still defiant. Sasuke, he has some sadistic words for her, and she's like, do you have any idea how long I've wanted to make you look like this? And then all of a sudden, Kinato just comes scrambling out of the woods because two of the golems are chasing him. So very comedic entry for his big hero moment to help out Tarasu.
Yeah, it's a good little joke, and yay, our big hero moment's happening. So happy for that. We shall see what happens with Kinato's magic, but I thought the chapter as a whole was pretty good. And it's time for Someone Hurts, Nick.
Someone does hurt right now, Quinn. But hopefully we can help them with Someone Hurts. Yes, we've got Mime recounting the fact that, hey, he and Mizuo are tied in the rankings, so he has an opportunity to overtake her because he won the rookie round and got those 5 points. The prompt that they're working with is, I heard you live at a bowling alley. How is it? And do we want to do our submissions now, or do we want to wait? Okay.
Let's nail it now.
All right, I'll go for you. I heard you live at a bowling alley. How is it?
Not so bad, but I'm pulling a lot of water outside. I think I need new gutters.
Hey, it's good stuff.
Nick, I heard you live at a bowling alley. How is it?
Yeah, it's actually in a really nice, quiet neighborhood. It's so quiet you can hear a pin drop.
That's very good. That's like what I was going for, but 100 times better. So you get the point this week.
I was also thinking, but I couldn't find the right wording for it. Of like, it's great. There's like all these bowling balls with free beer that come roll in every week.
For that Simpsons joke.
Yeah, I couldn't find a way to reference it like elegantly. So.
You're like, I'm just going to assume everyone's seen that episode of Simpsons.
During the when they reinstitute specifically in Springfield
the 18th Amendment or whatever. Yeah, it's
alcohol.
It's an episode I've been eagerly awaiting to show my boyfriend as we go through Simpsons, because I'm like, there's so many lines I have to quote from it. The best damn pet shop in town.
When they turn Moe's into a speakeasy. And no one is somehow they think they're going to get away with, like, the place everyone went to drink is the place everyone's going to go to drink.
Yeah, just like the idea, like, what kind of pet store is full with rowdy jazz music at 1 a.m.? The best damn pet store in town.
Oh, boy. So, he goes to Boarding a Jump, and in order to get some research in, and of course Mizuo is there as well, and we get her making a joke about labor strikes, which is a fun little pun. Cover page for the two of them where we get our chapter title, Watch This. has Mizuho with Mimei tied down Gulliver's Travel style. It's very silly.
I didn't realize, because I've never read Gulliver's Travel, and I didn't realize until now that scene with Robin at the start of Dressrosa is a reference now. I'm like, oh, that makes more sense.
It's not just a weird fetish thing.
Yeah, okay. It might still have been. Who knows?
Yeah. Mimei, however, we get a flashback to when he decided that he was going to go do bowling and stuff, and decided, like, if I'm going to overtake her, I need to, like, not rely on her for all this stuff. So he, like, turns to one of his friends and is like, oh, I'm gonna go bowling and stuff. But it turns out that his friends aren't able to go bowling with him. So he's like, I guess I got to go solo. All right. But Mizuho catches up to him while he's setting out the gates. And she's like, you were wondering if it was okay to go to a bowling alley yourself, weren't you? All right, let's go together. So Mimei's like, no, it's like I'm relying on her now. And also, if we bowl together, isn't it like... And he just imagines Nachi going, it's a date! You're going on a date! Oh, boy. But he's also worried that she can't afford it. But she's like, it'll be fine. So they go to get some bowling balls and stuff, and they're gonna roll stuff. Mizuho has a little joke where she tries to get the really heavy one first, and it's a silly little visual of her trying to pull it off the rack, and she can't do so. Then she turns to Mimei and is like, watch this. And Mimei is like, oh wow, she's so confident. Maybe she's really good at immediate gutter ball.
That's about what I expected, yeah.
So, we get a little montage of them, going through stuff. Mimei's pretty good at bowling, it seems like. He gets, like, a spare on the first one. He gets a 9 on the second one. He gets a strike on the third one. He's apparently really good at this. And Mizuho is not. She's very bad. She keeps getting gutter balls. So, they're going over stuff. And then he, is, like, giving her advice on different form and everything. And then Mizuho was like, oh, like, when we went out for karaoke, you taught me a lot of things then, too. I never would have thought that we would have the same score and stuff. And Mimei's like, my 5 points are their perk from the rookie round, though. So it's like he just feels, again, a little bit of inferiority going for him. Mizuho says, all right, last frame. I'm going to get a strike. She falls on her fucking face. But the ball goes forward, out of her hand. And as the ball rolls forward, she says to Mimei, here's the thing. I thought you would surpass me one day. I knew you were trying your hardest, so I really wanted to support you. But, and wouldn't you know it, with the worst bowling form ever, she gets a strike. She says, I still want to be number one more than anyone else. And then they have a little celebration because she actually got a strike. Then they go to check out at the cashier. And I
love that she has this scene where she's like, I got a strike, woohoo! And then the next match she's like, I hurt myself. And he's like, here's a Band-Aid.
Yeah, it's cute. They go to check out, and the woman at the register says, oh, you guys are students. Would you like to use the couples discount? And Mizuho's me like, yes, please.
Immediately.
No! But Mizuho says, it says literally right here, you can use it even if you're not actually a couple, as long as you're two students. We can't say we're a couple. Is it money? I have a little of it.
She's like, shut up and let me take this goddamn discount.
So Mizuho walks out very happy that she didn't have to spend fucking anything on money, basically, for this. And Mizuho's like, we got a good deal by going together. And Mimei's like, yeah, but... But then Mizuho brings up, which is why, no more sneaking off on your own. It's like, yeah, don't do that. You're friends. But Mimei says, but we're rivals now. And Mizuho, chuckles, but she says, nope, we need to pretend to be a couple until we get home. And Nachi comes by at that very moment. It's like, oh, hey, good job winning the rookie round. And then she looks between the two of them, how Mimei's all embarrassed and stuff.
Well, she specifically calls him the Mr. Boyfriend nickname. So that comes off even more awkward when they're
a little bit. We catch up with the two of them separately as they are listening to Monmid later in the week. And then we get Mizuho having a joke read off, which is, I heard you live at a bowling alley. How is it? Getting to see me brushing my teeth on the instant replay is sweet, which is a nice touch because they did show that there is an instant replay that you can watch. So she was like studying it before. And Mizuho just says, I tried my best this week, too. And then another one of her entries comes in. When I got back home, there was an after party I didn't know about going on. And she just says, you're 100 years away from being a match for me after all, May. And she's still got, like, her elbow bandaged up and stuff. She's got a little smirk on.
Yeah. It's a nice way of showing, like, hey, he is getting better, but Mame is not up to her level yet. She immediately surpasses him. Like, she has put her foot back on the gas.
Yeah. And I think as well, it's a demonstration of like, look, Mizuho clearly has feelings for Mime. I think that him catching up to her made her realize she was not ready for them to take the next step. And this is her kind of like being like, we're in a position now that I'm comfortable with. And she clearly likes him a lot, not just in terms of like romantic interest or anything, but spending time with him and stuff. Clearly that means a lot to her, that she was, seemingly hurt a little bit, that he snuck off on his own without, talking to her. And she likes doing that. But this is, again, her kind of like putting things back into like, this is where I'm comfortable with.
Yeah. So. Yep. All right. Ultimate Exorcist Kiyoshi.
Yes, chapter 97. Let's go to an inauguration.
It's crazy when you think about it that Ultimate Exorcist Kiyoshi has taken down 2 demon lords in the same amount of time it took Hima-Ten to have a crappy conclusion.
Hey, it's had 2 more chapters.
The next 2 chapters, Iamori better take down demon lords. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, damn right. Oh, yeah. So, it's not just Akaki and Kiyoshi that are going to this event. There's also Nehan and Jackjo and Akari all get attendance as well. They're there to attend to him as he's being, inducted as a member of the Cross Paladins. They run into Shishido out front, and Shishido greets Sakaki, who hasn't seen in a while. And Sakaki's like, oh, it's rare to see you. And Shishido says, it's Kiyoshi Rai's big moment. I'd have to be a heartless punk not to come. And then he's like, Kurogane recommended it. Pretty good choice. Yeah. And they also note that, like, this is the birth of the youngest cross paladin ever. And Jackjo just kind of curiously goes, I wonder who it was before him. And Akari knows, and she says, it was Mr. Utsugi Hijiri, the strongest active exorcist. He's the current commander of the Knights of Light and Mr. Tsurugi Hijiri's older brother. And they're like, oh, what? Wow! And Akari goes on, kind of goes over his resume because it has been a long time since we saw Utsugi. And we have not really heard anything from him since then. But we get him talked up as like, he is like the ultimate weapon of the human world, basically. So Kiyoshi heads in and he's like, do you think Mr. Utsugi will be here? And he's got like stuff to get an autograph ready. Little fanboy.
Adorable.
Then the utterly massive cross paladin that we were introduced to before, Megami Tenno, comes in and greets Kiyoshi and says, nice to meet you! I look forward to meeting you. Just between you and me, to put it delicately, I was dead set against your appointment. He just says with this big, massive grin on his face. It's like, wow, okay. And he just says, I am still skeptical, but what's done is done. Let's work together. So, hey, at least he's not being a massive dickbag about it. I appreciate that. So, he goes off. Then it's like, all right, time for the inauguration. The headmaster of the Exorcist Association calls everything to order. There's a big, massive crowd to witness the inauguration ceremony. Kiyoshi steps forward and he's like, why are there so many people here? And he just kind of in his head imagined that there'd be like a room of maybe 10 people in it going, congratulations!
Good
and that
job.
would be it. So he's like, there's so many people here. This is really bad. And the headmaster is, giving this big speech. And he's like, I'm going to have to say something after this too. I just know it. But then the proceedings are interrupted as Utsugi suddenly arrives. He is sitting on top of the podium that the headmaster was speaking at. His cape has like fluttered in front of the headmaster and is like fallen over his head. And he's like, so this is Kiyoshi Hirai, huh? And of course he's going to make a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
And the headmaster is pissed off at him for, like interrupting the sacred ceremony and stuff. And he's like, look, this is just a formality. All that matters is what the person in question can do. Right, Kiyoshi? And Kiyoshi says, yeah, I guess. And then he realized, like, oh, I just kind of said the first thing that came to mind. I don't know if that was a good thing to say. But the headmaster is like, hey, do you think that this is going to change anything? Kiyoshi is getting appointed. Like, we took the vote. It's all settled. Are you trying to, like, interfere with stuff? And Uzuki just says, look, I just came here to take a look at him and see whether he's cross-paladin material or not. So he took out a great demon lord, huh? He totally is cross-paladin material. throws a little fits. And he's like, I was going to nitpick him to death if he was some loser, though. But yeah, he seems like a good exorcist. And he reaches out and he shakes Kiyoshi's hand. But then he says, why do you smell like a demon? And Kiyoshi realizes, like, oh, the demonic power that got unleashed during the trip to the underworld. And Uzuki demands, are you connected to them? Because if you are, I might have to exorcise you to death. And he starts to crush Kiyoshi's hand in his own. But then, in a sudden burst of motion, Sakaki, Kurogane, and Shishido are all there. Kurogane's got a sword to Utsugi's neck. Shishido's kind of like leaning heavily on his shoulder. So good stuff.
Yeah,
there's everyone looking very cool in this moment.
Those are always a cool panel with a bunch of characters. Like that moment in One Piece where Robin shows up and immediately everyone in the Straw Hats are like ready to go. Yeah. So like the one time Sanji is holding a gun, you were like, oh
my god. Yeah, they didn't do that in Netflix, I don't think. Yeah. Also, Sakaki with high stakes. Always good to see high stakes in this cool ass design. Oh, yeah. So they demanded. I was like, "What are you doing here?" And Shishido also brings like, "I smell like a demon too, don't I?" And Utsuki's like, "That's just skin deep. With Karai, it goes all the way down." And Kurogane is like, "Well, that's no excuse to be oozing murderous intent towards him." And Utsuki, big dick move, is just like, "You're not even a cross paladin anymore."
I do love how she's like, Sakai isn't either.
What the fuck?
I am a little bit still mad that Kurogane's role has been like, there really wasn't a reason. She, like, just say there's 6 cross paladins. Why does she have to step down,
Utsugi's power, however, surges off of him in a very cool way because, like, the flames are going up into the panel above it and separating the panels out so that you get different shots. It's very cool.
Very cool.
And he's like, all right, if you're going to get in my way, you better brace yourselves for what's coming. And his power is so great that, like, Jackjo in the audience is being, like, suppressed by it. He's so powerful. But Kiyoshi finally speaks up and he says, hey, thank you, everyone. But this is my problem. Mr. Utsugi, I owe my life to a demon, and that is my answer. And Shishido and Sakaki are both like, why is he just saying that? Why? And Kurogane didn't know this. But Utsugi just says, you're pretty ballsy, aren't you? So, yep, some sort of square off is going to happen. We'll see how this situation resolves in the next chapter.
Yeah, it's a good little arc, though, or a good little start of things, and I'm excited to see what happens with these two characters square off for a little bit.
Yeah, good stuff.
All right.
And nice moments in this chapter, too.
Yes, Marriagetoxin, Chapter 170, no title.
Yes. No title, because none of the chapters of Marriagetoxin have titles, yes.
Yeah.
Himi is on a date with her ideal Gero, the way that she would most like him, and they're at an amusement park of some sort to see the bourgeoisie collab, and so she's like, yeah, this is great, and you went with me to one of their paid events, and that was great, but now they're doing this amusement park collab. My soul is howling, so she's like, we better go and to the store and stuff. And Gero is also really excited because there's a World DIY Candy Expo there the same day. All right. Weird fantasy, but okay.
It's specifically the way they advertise it with, like, the mixing candy he frequently uses. I'm like, there's no more exciting candy to put on the DIY Candy Expo. I guess that's what the DIY candy part is, but...
I love the expression that Himi makes when she's like, no, we're going to the concert. So she shoves him off. They get to the shop with all the merch and everything. And she's like, I'm glad I got something. But, and she's just kind of like looking down at her merch and just like, that's going to, I don't know. She's just having some thoughts about it. But then Gero looks down at her and says like, hey, let's make the most of this park for the rest of the day. That, today's all play and no rest. And then we get, even in the weird like psychic control that Himi is under in this moment, there's some weird fucking details.
I was like, this has to be like a clue into some way Nasu works, because otherwise, what a weird detail to be like, this amusement park is eco-friendly because all the power is generated by little men under the ground pushing things. Or on like the merry-go-round and roller coasters, you're riding on their bodies. And I'm like, what an absurdly uncomfortable detail to add.
Also, they're doing it in such a way where it's like, that wouldn't help preserve power at all. They're acting as the infrastructure of the rides, not the actual power generation. What's going on?
Like, what power are they even using for the roller coaster at that point?
I thought there might be a little clue into something going on because there are some kids who are really excited about the specialist card battle game, and then I realized, like, no, Himi is like best friends with Urashino. Of course, she would keep up with that. That makes sense that it's part of the fantasy. So
it's also a way to remind us about Kirishima and everything like that.
Right, the specialty unknown of Kirishima. Garo looks up at the Ferris wheel and the interest, and Himi is like, "Oh, have you never ridden one before?" And so she shakes his hand and is like, "Let's go," and is smiling and stuff. And then we cut to the very disturbing visual of what's actually going on with her, which is that she is being held, of course, by Nasu the doll user, and she has this like control crown that looks like it's clamped onto her head, and she's like, "Yeah, we're living together now and stuff." And
it took me too long to figure out the perspective of this image as well. She is like laying on like a glass floor that Nasu is viewing from below. But for the longest time, I thought she was like leaned up against a wall. He just had a weird way of looking. He was just being a weird little guy about how he was choosing to look at it.
So in the real world, Garo, of course, has just had Kimie and Ushio be kidnapped right out from under him by Nasu. But then suddenly he gets contacted. They gasp, "It's Sakazuki, the ghost user." Did you remember him? I didn't really, honestly.
I did remember him, but I only remembered because he is the other character in her arc.
Kimi's arc.
Yeah, so
I think I need to reread that arc to remind me of stuff that goes on in it. But so Sakazuki has reached out to him because there are belongings of the dead I never got to recover in the Himi residence, and not too long ago I heard them scream. It seems a Kirishima technique has been activated. And Garo's like, "Wait, what do you know about the Kirishima?" Because the Kirishima family users are one of the top 5 families with a history only second to the Garos, highly stealthy and secretive. The clan's powers remain unknown to this day. They're curse users. Sakazuki says they're curse users.
Yeah.
And he explains that it's basically a form of hypnosis that can plant complex suggestions through the use of a bloodlust-imbued catalyst, which seems like a very important detail. And so he explains, like, those girls probably made contact with some sort of catalyst. And we see like an image of Kimie and Ushio picking up like a little doll of Garo. And probably like they were like, "Oh, what's this?" And then they just got infected with it immediately. So he explains that like, this is how curse users operate. Poison users use sneak attacks. And in such a way, the curse users set up the ultimate beginner's trap. There is no way to guard against them short of knowing how they work. And I'm pretty sure as we speak, all those ladies are trapped in a lovely dream, hopelessly trapped. And then he goes on to say, Nasu the doll user stole this technique. The entire cursed clan has been wiped out save for me, and it is the doll user who now controls their power. Curses are especially effective against humans, and it was a bad match to say the least. I ran away before I could get caught up in that whole mess, and then modded my power and called myself a ghost user instead. So a lot of info just dumped very suddenly there.
Yes.
It makes me wonder if there's more to this than just what he is saying. Because he just kind of hangs up the phone at the end of this chapter.
He's like, all right, so catch you later.
Garo starts to, express some empathy for Sakazuki. He's just like, "Look, I'm actually grateful to the doll user. I didn't really like being part of the clan or anything. I'm calling you because I owe you for letting me go back then. It can be hard to kill somebody you owe a favor to." And so Garo says, "All right, well, I owe you one now, Sakazuki." And Sakazuki's like, "This is why I hate you. But one last thing. I always thought there was no one who could break free from that dream, but there is one." And they remember that during her arc, Himi did break free of the dream that Sakazuki placed her under. And so he notes she's the only one who has managed to break free from that power. The only one to unlock that achievement. That means that there should be at least one path to victory. Okay.
All right. So Hime is going to be really important to this part of the story, I guess.
We'll hold you to that, I guess.
Yeah, I'll believe it when I see it, but it does seem like eventually she does have to do something. So we shall see. But in the meantime, let's move on and talk about Deus Exorcist, Chapter 150. I'll be back.
I'll be back. Yep, color page, lots of red. Because Gakuro has just unlocked
It's going to
his
be
true
fucked up.
hollow weapon.
It's going to really be fucked up when Bleach and this series are running in the same magazine.
No. Gakuro has just unlocked his true Zanpakuto, the hollow weapon Crimson Midnight Sun. And, that level 3 spirit, he just drew the sword last time. He didn't actually kill it.
Yeah,
he does that in this chapter.
That confused me so much. It's like, I really thought last week was him showing off his new sword, cutting his spirit in half. And they're like, no, it's still here, and it's strong. I'm like, fuck off.
So Gakuro immediately shows off his spirit weapon's power by getting knocked into the wall. His father is still there and is like, oh, the power in hollow weapons is honed by fighting spirits, and yours is basically an infant. You can't take out a level 3. And Gakuro says, no, I'm about to go take down the strongest spirit there is. And he goes and he starts attacking it. He blocks stuff, slashes through stuff, eventually cuts the level 3 spirit's head off. And then he picks up the head and he's like, not done yet. And he throws it outside, which draws a bunch of other spirits. And his dad's like, what are you doing? And he's like, I'm throwing the head in the forest where the spirits are. And his dad says, if you do that, they'll come over here. That's why I did it. I'm going to take out spirits all over the place to train my hollow weapon. And he rushes outside. Oh man, some really big hollow spirits have shown up. And they're like eating stuff. And so he goes and he attacks them. He cuts one head off. He cuts another head off. The last one's got like heads dangling around its other head. And it's got big axes. And it's smashing the axes into the ground. And his dad's really worried, and he's like, come back to the house, because I can fight it if it's in the house. You can't do this alone. And Gakuro says, you did it alone, Dad. You put your life on the line to protect us. I've been trying to get that strong all this time. Just watch, Dad. And his dad's like, you'll die. I'm not gonna die. There are people I want to protect up ahead, like that one, and that one. And like 7 more that aren't on this panel.
I'll get to those ones, though. Don't you worry.
I'm going to be a warrior who doesn't let a single person die, myself included. And then his hollow weapon goes, it's glowing with an awesome power. And so, yeah, Gakuro's dad says, you know what, I wasn't strong at all. You got this far trying to match me? You idiot. As Gakuro cuts off this spirit's head. Boo! He kills it. Yeah. So, Gakuro heads back. His father says, I have been using a shadow ability, but this hollow weapon has powers of light. The Yajima family hollow weapons originally used both light and shadow abilities. Shadow powers are a good match for Nue. Maybe that's why you could use it even when you were sealed. So he had an affinity for her because he was the chosen one the whole time. So, yep, the seal's been released. So he's like, my hollow weapon's job is now done. Your weapon is still growing. I bet it'll get strong enough to hold it against its own. His body starts to fade because he's done his work. Then he's like, oh, by the way, how's Shitotsu? You know, my daughter.
At the last thing, he's like, well, I'm starting to leave now. How's Shitotsu doing? Like, all right. I'm glad that's like an afterthought. I'm glad he mentions it all, but.
Yes. He says that he's proud of Gakuro. He's glad that he survived so far. And then he says, there's no time to be happy I met you or to cry because I have to say goodbye. And Gakuro's like, oh. He's like, he comforts him and stuff. He's like, now you can be a warrior who protects everybody. And Gakuro is crying in a way that humans don't, as he makes a very bold expression while he's got tears streaming from both sides of each eye.
Yeah, I think Gakuro has like holes in his face that are leaking right now.
He says, yeah, I'll do that. I'm heading out, Dad. Anyway, Kasha is being confronted by Nue, who says, there's no way you can size me up properly. I'm here because I'm going to win. All right. So that happened.
Yep, it sure did. We'll see what happens when who gives a shit. Akane-banashi, Nick. Chapter story 211. Favor.
Yep. So the point of the story that Kaisei is at, young Kindon, the son, has learned the magic spell that can send a god of death away. And so now the story kind of proceeds from there with him in the role of the healer, helping people who, have a death god appear at the foot of their beds. Story spreads about his ability. Eventually, the god of death appears to Kindon, and he tries to send him away, and the god of death is like, stop that. Stop trying to send me away. Stop that. And he says, did you forget who I was, you little ingrate? And Kindon's like, oh, you're that god of death, the one who showed him the ability. And he says, why haven't you taken my payment? With what you've done for people, you should own an entire mansion or two by now. And Kindon says, well, you see, the master told me I can't take money. He says that too much money drives a person insane, and I shouldn't try to get rich until I'm grown and a mature, well-rounded person. And the death god says, okay, weren't you looking for a means to die because you were sick of him telling you what to do? Why are you listening to him now? And Kindon says, well, he can be scary, but it's all thanks to Master, because it was just me and Mom, and we had no other options, and he took me in to work for him. He taught me the ins and outs of the job. Even when I was useless and everyone else turned a blind eye, he never gave up on me. And of course, it becomes incredibly obvious that the story that Kaisei is telling is actually the story of himself and Isho. And he remembers himself as a child and Isho taking him in and thinks, I owe him everything. I can't disregard his teachings. He can't analyze this and says, these are words of truth. He is speaking for himself through Rakugo. This is the art of the personal. But it's still lacking compared to Akane Arakawa's God of Death. Unlike the God of Death he performed faithfully at the Shinichi promotion test, he's embellished the story greatly this time to delve further into the Rakugo and demonstrate the result of his refinement. It's his will that holds the key here. How much of your story can you tell through this story? What is it you want to say through God of Death? Kindon dismisses the God of Death that is at his master's bed, which will cause his master's illness to be cured now. And he expresses his relief as his master gets up and then looks at the boy and says, why didn't you save me sooner? If you could cure this, you could have done so right away. I heard what you said. You were lamenting that if not for me, you could have made a fortune selling your services as a doctor. So, did you get back at me, watching my suffering while secretly gloating to yourself? If not, then why did you do such a thing? And the visuals transform from, like Edo period people to Kaisei and Isho, because this is what is really being represented here. So, this story, of course, now overlaps Kaisei's story, which Kaisei reiterates, and he says, this is why I performed God of Death at the promotion test. I wanted to express that all these emotions I've had since our meeting. And, we see the performance that he did then. I've never forgotten a single ounce of the favor that you did me. There was a God of Death at your pillow, and if it stands at your pillow, there's no saving you. I tried all the same, racking what little brains I have to try to find a way to make it work. Because you are my savior. Because I've received so much from you. And Kaisei thinks, I wanted to show Isho everything. I wanted to show him I could perform Rakugo. To show him the days he spent on me weren't wasted. I just wanted to be worthy of your favor. And instead, his master says, I've heard enough. Pack your things and get out. And he rejects him and kicks him out. And he calls out for his master, and Kaichi is listening to this, and he's like, these are heart-wrenching screams. You know what this pain feels like, and you know the fate that awaits him. And what has happened is the same thing that happens in the usual God of Death story, which is, instead of dismissing the God of Death, he's exchanged his life for his master's. And the God of Death says this, and says, and now you will die. We check in on Isho, who is watching the performance, and he just thinks, regardless of who it is, all I listen to is the art. How will you answer? my question. And we get a flashback to the moment after Isho intervened in the decision of Kaisei's Shinichi promotion test and was saying something to him in the rain. And we now learn that he asked him, "You understand, don't you?"
Yeah.
Well,
guess we'll still have to wait to find out exactly everything that went on there, but it seems like we're getting bits and pieces of it.
Isho's such a good villain, man. He is
such a shit.
Like, he's got it, like, his reason for everything. When you hear him explain it, it all makes sense. But man, is he a dickbag at every step of the way through every interaction he has. All right, Quinn, we made it through to the other side. Yay! Tell me.
Yeah.
Series this week?
Favorite MVP for me is going to be simple. There's one chapter that really stood out to me, and that is Dandadan, and the MVP of this week is Aira. I think it was an incredibly beautiful moment, and the chapter got me super excited. Lazarus, we did not forget the new series. We discussed it alphabetically when it came up. Canon Kingdom or something like that?
Canon Master.
Canon Master. So it was earlier in the recap.
I think that I'm going to also say that Aira is my MVP. Absolutely. Great chapter for her. I think my favorite series this week is going to be Ultimate X's Kiyoshi. I liked a lot of the interactions. I thought it was a very nice, fast-paced chapter to help get us caught up again and like, hey, here are all these members of the Cross Paladins that you probably forgot because a lot of them were brought up only the one time, and then we haven't seen them during this entire arc. A lot of great interactions for them, and then we had the great confrontation that took place between everybody on the stage. So good stuff there.
Yes, the audience, by the way, picked Blue Box as its chapter of the week, and then Kaisei from Akane-banashi as the character of the week, which both make sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
That is going to do it for Weekly Manga Recap this week, everybody. We should have a Blue Proustian moment, I think, next week. More manga will happen. More manga discussion will happen next time. We will be here on twitch.tv/RoloT at the usual time of somewhere around 7:30 to 8 p.m. on Wednesday. But to know exactly when we go live, you can follow us on social media. I'm Nick F. Time. She's RoloT. We are Weekly Manga Recap, all on BlueSky. Also, be sure to follow WMR Votes for the audience poll for MVP and favorite series. That's conducted by Ninja X3i, who does a whole lot of stuff. So just kind of help make sure that Quinn and I just know what's going on and don't forget certain things. And we greatly appreciate.
As I said, I came very close to forgetting Canon Master this week. So it's helpful.
We have a Discord server, which is linked wherever the show is posted. You can use that to participate in all the discussions that happen on there, including discussing the recommendation that we're working on, the chapters as they come out, and all sorts of other things in our wonderful community. There's also a Google Doc that will be linked there, which has stuff that you can look up all the previous recommendations that we've taken across the history of the podcast and see how, the audience vote has turned out, for example, 3 weeks ago, if you want to check on that, all that kind of stuff. We are on YouTube, youtube.com/Weekly Manga Recap, if you want the video version of the show, which also features an opening sequence done by Malajack Stillitz and Bree Cheddar. Occasionally, the YouTube channel also has thumbnails done by Steve Man, whose artwork you can just look up by just searching for Steve Man Art. It's posted in many places across the internet. If you just want the audio version, we are on weeklymangarecap.podbean.com. We are on iTunes. We are on Spotify, all the podcast feed kind of places. And also we have a Patreon, patreon.com/weeklymangarecap. If you want even more Weekly Manga Recap content, we have bonus episodes on there. And also, if you want to, you can help financially support the show if you want to do that.
Absolutely. All right. That's going to do it, right?
I think so. I think that's everything.
All right, we covered everything. We'll see you guys next week with some Blue Proustian moment, which we don't have to tell you now what that's about. You can infer it from the title. Don't worry.
Yeah, it's very not opaque at all.
It's pretty much what it says on the tin, if I could quote TV tropes.
I mean, it kind of is, but...
All right, bye, everybody.